My name is Baek Uziel, and everyone knows me as a loser who's completely useless at magic. But now, I'm about to prove them all wrong. I'm not the person he used to be. Even though I'm broke and talentless, I somehow managed to get into the kingdom's top magic academy. On the very first day, when the professor announces that this test will decide our entire lives, he isn't joking. Our grades determine whether we end up in class 4 classes. He then tells everyone to put away their belongings and hand over any glasses they're wearing for inspection to prevent cheating. I sit there quietly because, to everyone here, I'm just a nobody, a total failure. As soon as the test begins, I don't have a single answer. I look around and notice that a few students are solving the problems with ease. They must be geniuses. Not wanting to be left behind, I reach for a pair of glasses I hadn't planned on using. But just as I'm about to put them on, the professor catches me. He angrily points out that I didn't submit them for analysis. He inspects the glasses right in front of me, and for a moment, I think I am caught. I feel like it's all over, but he doesn't find anything suspicious and hands them back. No one in this world has glasses like these. With their help, I can see every answer on the test, and much more. The exam ends, and the professor looks at my results, where he notices a major problem. There was one question that should have been impossible to answer, but more on that later. A few days earlier, in the slums, a carriage is taking our main character to a secluded place. He falls asleep on the way, and has a dream showing him memories of the past. In it, he declares that he'll become a mage when he grows up, and his mother believes in him. His parents work hard to buy him a second-hand magic book. After that, he starts studying magic every day to make them proud. But then he has to see a doctor, who tells him he has Manhwa leakage syndrome. The boy is shocked, and can't believe he has this illness. Our protagonist wonders if these are Baek Uziel's memories or his own. Suddenly, he gets a sharp headache and wakes up. He realizes it's morning, and the other mages tell him they were just about to wake him. They are about to reach Eljua, a satellite city of the Arcanium. They stop the carriage for a break along the way. There, he meets a blue-haired girl who turns away the moment she sees him, not even offering a greeting. He realizes everything is normal, and he was worried for nothing, because this world isn't entirely like the Middle Ages. Magic exists within the safe cities of the Ether world, and for long-distance travel, people use trains and flying ships. They are heading to Uljoica, from where they will take a flying ship to complete their long journey. Uljoica is a city on the way to the Arcanium, and that's where the real story begins. It's a city of magic, home of famous magic towers, orders of magic knights, and the most prestigious academies. The academy with the most powerful mages and exceptional students is called Stella Academy. That's why nobles and geniuses from all over the world come to study there. He can't understand how he got selected for such an academy. He decides to check his abilities to gauge his level. He finds out he has Manhwa leakage syndrome at level 1, which is increasing his strength and agility. He also has a sixth sense and detection acceleration, which have saved his life before. However, there's also a curse that prevents mana from accumulating in his body, which is why it's called Manhwa leakage syndrome. This permanent curse has plagued Baek Uziel's life. Thanks to it, however, he can detect humans around him with his sixth sense. If someone attacks him, he knows it even if he's looking the other way. Detection acceleration makes things appear as if time has slowed down. This ability activates automatically if an attack is faster than a human's detection speed. But he can't use it for long, as it consumes his mental power. After this, he looks at his status window and thinks he's at a decent level for a beginner. Baek's sensitivity is low, but his stats are different from before. In the Ether world, there isn't just one level. Every stat and skill has its own level, some represented by stars. The maximum for any stat is 9 stars, which is nearly impossible to achieve. Even after playing for 10 years, he only reached 8 stars. He decides he needs to increase his sensitivity to improve his sixth sense and reaction speed. After that, he'll work on vigor and other skills. For now, he'll focus on sensitivity. But his biggest problem is Manhwa leakage syndrome, which he must solve, or he won't live for long. He knows he needs to evolve it into secrets of nature, and the way to strengthen it is at Stella Academy. This means if he wants to stop the end of the world and cure his illness, he has to go there. He didn't want to go to the academy, so he first tries to find a solution nearby. Suddenly, he realizes he's missed some notifications and doesn't know what they were. At that moment, the mages start to hurry, saying they are resuming their journey. He decides to check the missed notifications later. Some time passes, and they reach the flying ships departing for the Arcanium. The nobles on board notice our main character walking awkwardly, as if he's never traveled on a flying ship before. They start talking prejudicially, saying Stella Academy shouldn't let poor people and peasants in because it's the most famous academy in the world, and people like him will ruin its image. Our hero understands that kids are the same in both worlds and ignores them. Suddenly, a rude boy starts yelling at him, trying to start a fight. But then he sees a white-haired girl approaching, and is shocked. She is the princess of the Adlebat kingdom, named Humbayan Adlebes. She enters with an intimidating posture, making everyone nervous and respectful. Even the boy who was bullying our hero goes quiet. The girl gives everyone a cold look and starts climbing the stairs without a word, passing by our protagonist. He immediately recognizes her as the villain of this world. Humbayan is one of the main characters in the game. She constantly argues with the female protagonist and dies at the end of every storyline. No matter which path the player chooses, she is brutally killed in every ending. In some endings, Princess Bayan is bullied by everyone at the academy and is later expelled. In one ending, she suffers such a humiliating incident that she never appears in public again. It seems the game developers had a personal grudge against the villain and wanted to make her suffer in every possible way. However, she is also very popular among male players for her beauty. After all this, our hero feels incredibly hungry. He spots a snack bar with delicious-looking food, but the prices are exorbitant. Just then, an announcement is made that they will reach Arcanium City in 10 minutes, and everyone is asked to come to the first floor as the city approaches. Our hero knows a lot is going to happen to him at Stella Academy, and that many dangerous people will stand in his way. He understands that this is his reality now, and decides to face whatever comes. During the journey, he feels exhausted and wonders if he'll be able to survive at Stella Academy, or even stay alive in this ruthless world. He wishes he had something that could help him in this situation. Then he remembers he hasn't fully checked the system notifications. The notification says that Project Constellation has given him several special rewards. He sees the system window behaving like a business, and wonders what to choose from the rewards. He considers the Light of Return, and the Prize of Flash, but research reveals that the power of these items will be reduced because they are too strong. Then he thinks about taking the hyperspace teleport, but learns it's an advanced version of teleportation that can't be acquired directly. However, he can upgrade his skill with the reward. He gets irritated, because the system is nerfing the levels of things. The narrative power that drives the story is preventing the entity from fully materializing. Because of this narrative power, the system can't give him high-level items, because he's still a novice. He then considers taking the Bulbo classes, and the system starts calculating. After its analysis, the system decides this item can be granted. Suddenly, he receives the exact glasses he asked for. He can't believe the day has come when he has to use these glasses, which store all the information he gathered while playing the game. In the Ether world, it was impossible to remember all the information about hunted monsters. So, players created items to store information. Our hero did the same, and created these very glasses. These Bulbo glasses remind him of everything he saw during his journey in the game. He asks the item to open the Bulbo folder, which displays information on monsters, dungeons, hunts, and various characters he encountered on his journey. Soon, Bake opens this menu and starts analyzing the artifacts and monsters he's seen before, because this is now his real life. It's not possible to get correct information on repeatable quests from the game system. But with these glasses, he can regain half of his old skills. Suddenly, a commotion starts about a girl named Isol. People say she's the eldest daughter of the traitor, Duke Moth, and our hero realizes she is the blue-haired girl. All the young people get angry seeing her, wondering how she dared to come here and show her face. Then he remembers that these glasses also show information about story characters. He learns that Isol Moth is a fake heroine with ice magic who dies at the end of the story. He also gets a lot of other useless details. Baekhyun remembers the important point: she's the fake heroine, and he understands several impactful points related to her. The place he's in is the Ether World, which is actually a game based on a fantasy novel called Don't Love the Princess. In that novel, the heroine, Isol, loses her entire family in a tragedy. After that, she grows up facing the schemes of the villain, Hung Bayan, and eventually gets together with the game's male protagonist. In the end, her revenge goes wrong, and the other characters protect her. But after feedback from readers, the ending was changed. The problem is, even though the game world is based on that novel, the story is completely different. A new original character named Flame was added to the game, who took the heroine's place. She was a girl living a normal life in the modern world who was suddenly transported to this place. Unlike the novel, in the game, Isol becomes the fake heroine and Flame becomes the real one. Players tried hard, but she couldn't survive in her route, and was thus removed from the position of the true heroine. At this, Bake takes off the bulbo glasses and says it has nothing to do with him, setting them aside. He wonders if it's his imagination, but he feels like he's seen that girl somewhere before. He thinks it's time to get off the flying ship, and he finally arrives at Stella Academy. There, the headmaster is saying that demonic humans are mages who used hidden powers and became creatures, and they still continue their invasions. They open portals and enter ancient dungeons to attack the magical world. Everyone finds the headmaster's speech boring, but he continues, talking about the ceremony for the 4 students with the highest scores and asks them to come on stage, as they will represent the freshmen. Our mage sees Flame, the villain Hun-ban, and the blue-haired girl. He notices their faces are shining, as if affected by being the main characters of the story. Among them, the most special is Yuzong, the student with the highest score in the academy. The protagonist recognizes him immediately, because Yuzong is considered the most handsome and intelligent person in the story. Yuzong is called the most honorable between heaven and earth. He has a 9-star mana stat and is a genius who can control all elements, with the potential to become a deity. Even if he can't achieve the true ending, he wants to avoid the bad ending, and for that, he needs to bring Ma to the good side. But all this depends on Flame's actions, because Flame comes from the same reality as our hero. So, he thinks about getting close to her. But if she sees him as an enemy, and rejects his proposal, the situation will become complicated. He has privileged information. Flame is the possessor of a fantasy romance novel, and Bake is the possessor of a fantasy romance game. Even though his presence in the story is minimal, Bake decides to do it. The heroine has the special ability to purify dark demonic humans, but she also has a power that can destroy people around her. So, staying near her is dangerous. His role is to support the heroines from a distance and avoid getting too involved. After this, the director ends the entrance ceremony, and the Stella Academy episode concludes. Then, our protagonist enters a classroom at Stella Academy. He remembers his college days, and being a student again after graduation feels strange. He has a golden pocket watch that helps him a lot. It's a Stella pocket watch, proof that he's a student at the world's most prestigious academy. This item can get him the best service and high-quality treatment. He thinks he should use this advantage soon. Then a professor with a scar on his face enters the room. Starting the assessment, he says that students who wear glasses will be checked first. Our protagonist knows the academy's curriculum is tougher than any university in Korea. On the very first day, there's a class placement assessment that determined which class a student will be in. As soon as he gets the test, he realizes he doesn't understand a thing on the paper. It's more difficult than an ordinary entrance exam, and students are ranked from stuff. Most playable characters are placed in classes based on their scores on this exam. On the other hand, Baek entered the academy in last place and was put in class 5. He sees Yuzong looking bored during the placement exam, because he finished his test before everyone else. He understands why he's so bored. He was born into the most powerful family, and is the most talented person in the world. Whether he becomes good or evil depends on the female protagonist. The demonic humans who want to destroy the world are also interested in Yuzong. Our hero keeps comparing himself to the geniuses in the class. He wonders if he can use the bulbo glasses here, as he had accumulated several skills with them in the library. He thinks he has nothing to lose, so he decides to try. As soon as he takes out the glasses, the professor notices him. The professor says that if anyone uses glasses, they will be inspected first. When he takes Beck's glasses in his hand, he feels energy around them. Our hero realizes that if the professor finds out these aren't normal glasses, he'll be expelled. Suddenly, the system says a part of the glasses is missing and asks if he wants to summon it. The professor nervously inspects the bulbo glasses. Finally, he says he felt no energy, and returns them to Beck. He knows that if the main functions of the glasses had been active, he would have been expelled immediately. He puts the item on his face, and he can actually see the answers to the placement exam. He realizes he can come in first on the test, and if this continues, he could move from class to class. But just then, the professor announces that the test is over and tells everyone to submit their answer sheets. Beck has only answered 3 questions, and the papers are collected. As the professor takes the exams, he is suddenly shocked. The protagonist thinks he'll escape class now, but it's not that simple. The professor, looking troubled, asks Beck for the glasses again. He inspects them and says, "This is impossible," and asks for juror Grant to be called. Beck had written all the answers clearly so it wouldn't look like cheating, and he doesn't understand why there's such a commotion. He starts to wonder if he was caught cheating. Then, the magic engineering professor, Bryn, analyzes the glasses. Even though the protagonist solved the questions very quickly, he feels no amount of energy from the glasses, and says the student answered with pure intelligence, not cheating. Bran tells Lee Han-vel to apologize to the student and guide him, because he's very impressive. Professor Lee Han-vel apologizes to our hero. Our hero knows deep down that he cheated and would have been caught if the main power of the Bulbo glasses had been active. Still, he accepts the apology, happy that he got away with it. In Professor Lee's office, the placement exams are being checked. An old lady asks if these are this year's freshman papers. Professor Lam of the Council of Elders is excited about this year's students because among them is Princess Hung Bayan of the Idlebet Kingdom. There's also the successor who was chosen as the Empire's prince at the age of 12 due to his magic ability. His name is Jeremy Scalvin, who defeated his brother in the race for the throne. Additionally, there's a high ranker who is the successor to the master of the world's largest full moon magic tower. The professor understands that it was difficult to create exam questions for students from such elite families. He thanks the elder for complimenting his questions. As the elder mentioned, the class placement test had new types of questions. The first 3 questions were difficult for those who only study in the usual way. The purpose of those questions was to check the flexibility of those who didn't know the answer. The second purpose was to see how students solve problems outside of books. The era of magic was once limited to memorization and theory, but now it's a time of fast judgment and creative thinking. In reality, those questions weren't made to be solved, and 1,000 students left them blank. Of the students who attempted them, most couldn't get a single one right. Among the new students, only 3 people answered all 3 questions correctly. The first is Mayuzan, a prodigy of the century, who suddenly appeared from an unknown origin. Flame also got admission on the principal's recommendation. Even though she's a commoner, her score is close to Mas. And the third who got all 3 questions right is Baek Uziel. The other 2 are considered geniuses, but Baek's entrance score is even better than theirs. Still, the professor is surprised he passed the test and solved all 3 questions. The elder realizes the professor is taking a special interest in Baek's scores because some equations could be solved even without knowledge. The professor wonders if this boy is a genius. The elder says it might just be a coincidence. Then he starts analyzing the protagonist's file. It says he was admitted because of a high-level teleportation control ability. He realizes the principal himself approved his admission because he is a special mage. The professor wonders how a teleportation specialist mage works and wants to find out soon if he's really special or if it was just a coincidence. In the corridors, there's a lot of noise after the class assignments are posted on the boards. Students run excitedly to see, but the protagonist feels too lazy to look, because before, he could see with a single click. When all the students check their classes, they are shocked to see Baek's name, because they heard he got a 0 on the magic application test, yet he still got into Stella Academy. The protagonist doesn't care about these complaints and just wants to check his class and leave. He thinks it's not that important, but he's shocked when his name isn't in class. He's surprised that even after answering only 3 questions, he didn't fail. The talk around his name grows, and everyone says it's wrong because many nobles were placed in lower positions. Sensing something is wrong, he checks again. As soon as he sees his name in class, he is completely shocked. This is the special ranking every student dreams of, where the most exceptional students are gathered. Other classes have many rooms, but this class has only 41 students and a single classroom. He thinks his placement in class might be a mistake, and now he'll have to meet the main characters often. He knows that getting too involved with the main characters will shorten his life, but he can't change classes. So, he decides to do his best and keep a low profile to remain unnoticed among the key figures. And Bung Yil, the fire element professor, slaps a girl hard and says irritably that she only got 3 questions right, constantly comparing her to other students. She says that even dumb students managed questions that she couldn't. She keeps putting her down. It turns out, this is her own daughter, who listens to everything quietly. Her mother looks at her with dislike, wanting her daughter not to be like her persecuted, exiled from the kingdom, and stuck in a teacher's position. She says her daughter has become better than her sister, and she doesn't want her to be a disgrace to the kingdom. Inside, the girl doesn't understand why her mother acts this way, no matter how much she tries to explain, because she lives her life just as her mother taught her. Her life is filled with magic and spell problems she couldn't learn, and she keeps wondering why her family is always worried about her. Well, the first day of class finally arrives. Our protagonist feels out of place and is also afraid of the class he's been put in. In the classroom, people are gossiping, thinking he shouldn't be here. The parents of those rich kids had also protested about why he was in ranks, but the principal defended him. Our teleporting hero feels completely isolated in that classroom, because the other boys have been training hard since childhood. Having someone they consider stupid among them irritates them. He says that sometimes a student can be demoted from a rank due to performance. At this, he thinks someone from rank O will soon move up to ranks. It feels strange to him that the game's characters are now standing in front of him. In a few years, most of the students in this class will become world famous. And there's the case of Yusan, who might betray the magical world in the future. Baek Uziel hopes he can prevent that event. Then, the class teacher enters and tells everyone to sit down. Lee Han-vel begins his formal introduction. Students say he has hunted more than 1,000 dark demonic humans, which impresses everyone. He's also a 7th class magic warrior, and reveals that this room contains many talented students and one very unique student. He explains that the academy trains combat mages, and everyone has undergone difficult training to get here. He hopes all students will show their best at Stella Academy. No one has any questions, so he starts the lesson. Just then, the same girl who was being hit by her mother arrives late and interrupts him. The protagonist is surprised to see Hun Ban being late. She always follows the rules, so he thinks something must have happened to her, and checks with his bulbo glasses. He sees the fire mage's profile, which says she will become a villain in the future and her death is certain. Our teleporting mage thinks it's strange that her death is already fixed. If Aisel is eliminated because of Flame, Hun will go with her, because their fates are connected. He realizes this is the inevitable fate of a villain, just like the fire mage. He wishes he could save them if possible, but he's not in a position to do so. Watching from a distance, he feels bad, but he has no other option. Then, Hun Ban comes and sits next to him. Baek Uziel scoots over a bit to let her sit, but he feels that things are already changing from the start. Before starting the lesson, the teacher talks about the staff succession ceremony, where class and class A will go together. Our protagonist finds this ceremony a bit annoying, but is also excited to see it. Stella Academy has 2 major events: the familiar contract ceremony and the staff succession ceremony. Just like the Academy's reputation, this staff ceremony is also special. The teacher takes all the students to the ceremony site and explains that staffs from low class to mid-high class are kept there. They have to choose the staff that interests them the most, because the staff exchange process is a complicated layer. So, it's better to think carefully and choose only one. The protagonist knows that in the ether world, a staff chooses its owner through resonance, so he can't just force a high-level staff. Baek stops in front of a staff and wonders which one to choose. Before, he would have taken INF level 1, but now he's in ranks, so he thinks carefully. He feels a short-form staff is more suitable. Staffs come in 2 types: short-form wands and long-form staffs. Wands are typically used by knights who cast fast spells, while long staffs are used by priests who focus on a single powerful, long strike. Students keep gossiping about which staff the commoner Baek will choose. As an class student, he shouldn't have a problem with resonance, and they make fun of him. But the protagonist ignores the comments. Then someone comes and stands next to him. Irritated, he introduces himself as he is, a name our protagonist hears for the first time. A strange boy he's never seen before asks which staff he's going to take and says he should take one according to his commoner status. He also adds that he shouldn't create trouble for the professor. Our hero replies that he shouldn't create trouble for the professor either by being such a jerk. Hearing this, the noble gets even more irritated and starts insulting the teleportation mage. The mage asks if he wants to fight. During this, the protagonist notices he is the son of a marquise. He uses the bulbo glasses and gets only that irrelevant information about the boy, which makes him realize this boy is completely secondary and unimportant in his life. Then, he says he's going to take a very famous staff named a Damaradamic. Our hero understands this will be the strongest staff of the upper middle tier. Such a staff is usually used by professional magic warriors. No matter how talented someone is, the limit for students should be a lower middle tier staff. Even professional magic warriors can barely handle a lower middle tier staff. But besides this, there is another upper middle tier staff, which isn't a real option, because it's only for demonstration. Then the professor tells everyone to stand in front of the staff they are interested in. All the students go to their chosen staffs. But everyone is shocked when Akin Hedon chooses the Armorcoat staff, which is middle tier and famous, and Prince Galvin and Princess Horn also choose middle tier staffs. Lee wants to see how many people will try to take a middle tier staff, which only certified students can wield. The professor says this year's students are very impressive. Hearing this, Ask gets irritated and says he'll show them too, and tries to take the strongest staff. He stops in front of the upper middle tier staff to resonate with it and tells everyone to watch carefully. He's about to show what a real genius looks like. As he touches the staff, a huge magical explosion occurs, and everything is washed out. As everyone expected, he fails and falls to the ground like a slab of ham. People start to panic as he looks seriously hurt. Someone thinks it's impossible to resonate with an upper middle tier staff, and it's better to give up. The owner of the staff is already decided, and it will be Yusong, who confidently walks towards the artifact. At that moment, he stops in front of the item with a confident smile. The owner of the staff has been decided, and now Yusong is going to try to take the upper middle staff. Everyone refuses to believe he can hold the Adamai staff. But to everyone's surprise, he grabs the staff, and a bright light emanates from his hands. Everyone closes their eyes because of the blinding light. When the light fades, a smile is on the prodigy's face as he holds the small staff as if it's nothing. None of the students around him can believe that a new student has taken an upper middle staff. They wonder if it's even possible, but the protagonist expected this, because he knows the story. He knows that now everyone will realize his talent. For a few seconds, our hero thinks Mel will tease him, but the noble just gives a slight smile. Ignoring the situation, he comments that Flame has also taken an upper middle staff. At that moment, our hero imagines that the route is about to split. If Flame takes the Tarian staff, the noble will become interested in her. Because the girl is a genius, the Mei Yusung route will begin. But if she takes another staff, a completely new route will start. That's why Baek Uziel has to use Flame to make Ma a hero. Then he sees the Teruvan staff, and a girl is walking towards it. That girl is Flame, cautiously approaching the sacred artifact. Deep inside, the protagonist wants her to take the staff so that the noble Mo will become interested in her, and the route will change. Then maybe the chance of a happy ending will increase. But the girl ignores the staff, which shocks our hero. He thought she was interested in the Teruvan. He thinks maybe she doesn't have enough information about the staff, so she ignored it. Still, this is bad because Flame, being the protagonist, should be able to resonate with any staff. He wonders if she's afraid of choosing a bad staff, and wants to avoid losing the good ones. Now he sees no other option and decides to give her the Teruvan staff himself. Using his teleportation ability, he appears right behind the girl. He greets her, and the girl is a little startled by his sudden appearance. He says he wants to know which staff she is going to choose. He says he wants to help because she looks lost. But the girl doesn't want help and tells him to go away. Seeing this, the protagonist feels something strange because Flame should have been friendly, not this cold. Still, Baek doesn't give up, because his and others' lives depend on it. He says he really wants to help her choose the right staff. The girl repeatedly tells him to mind his own business. Still, the protagonist tries to introduce the Teruvan. Hearing this, the girl gets irritated and thinks he knows nothing about sass. Baek feels that she doesn't care about side characters, and he says he has heard a lot about her, and that she can wield the Teruvan. Suddenly, something strange starts to happen, and a weird sound comes out. Baek couldn't even finish his sentence because a thunderous event occurs. Our protagonist places his hand on the upper mid-rank staff, and it resonates with him. He himself is extremely shocked and wonders how it came into his hand. This staff was supposed to go to Flame, not him. After this, he cuts his conversation with the girl short, because he was about to give her that very staff, and now he has picked it up himself. Later, we see Flame walking around the school, overhearing gossip. She hears students talking about 2 students who attracted upper mid-class once, which has only happened to 5 people in history. They also say one of them only used teleportation in the exam. They are surprised, and say that teleportation is basic magic and call it magical trash. The girl listens to the whole conversation, and goes to the self-study hall, where she finally finds peace and no murmuring, because today's main topic is the teleportation mage who acquired a high-level staff. The news of 2 new students obtaining high-class wands is spread everywhere, but she can't understand what happened. She keeps thinking about who that boy was who held the Teruvan. She has read the novel many times, and has never seen a character named Baek Uziel. In the novel, no one ever held that wand, and he did it with great ease. She thinks Baek did it just to show off to her. Then she ignores that thought. Her friends arrive, and ask if she's going to study alone. The girl says she's not such a nerd to do that, to which her friends disagree and also ask why she calls everyone brats when she's the same age. She justifies herself by saying it's a habit because she has always been treated like an adult. Deep down, she knows she's in a modern-day novel and shouldn't behave like a child. When asked about studying, she says she has a special supplementary meeting to attend. They decide to have coffee some other day, and Flame leaves. Flame doesn't like being in school with students her age. While thinking, she bumps into someone. It's Havan, who asks if she's okay after the collision. Seeing her troubled expression, he asks what's on her mind. The girl finds his sudden concern strange, and says she's fine, and is going to study now. He says he's going to this class training room, and isn't lazy. After this, a strange exchange about schedules happens between them, and Heaven puts a hand on the girl's shoulder, saying he'll see her later. Inside, Flame thinks his manner is very dry and too sincere, which she doesn't like. Then she notices a girl peeking through a crack in the door. It's Jackie, and as soon as she's noticed, she runs away, leaving Flame confused about why she was spying on her. But she's too busy, and doesn't go after her, instead heading straight for the supplementary meeting. According to the original novel, Aesol and Hung are also supposed to attend this meeting. She wants to see it because the female protagonist and the villain are about to face off. As she enters the room, she sees many familiar faces. She notices all the important characters are in this room. On closer look, she realizes the host is Kyle from class I. This meeting is for students who want to improve their grades, and she expected such a reaction from them. She also notices that Baek Yusung and Baek Yuziel are there. Baek Yusung is considered the male protagonist of this world, and he is clearly showing interest in Baek, which she thinks is a coincidence. After all, Baek only solved 3 questions of the hellish exam. She thinks Baek knew from the start that solving those questions would get him into class. If Baek Yuziel knew beforehand, and is acting this way, he is dangerous, and that's the conclusion Flame comes to about our hero. On the other hand, our hero wants to stay away from Yusung, but he tries to start a friendly conversation and asks about his motivations. The protagonist doesn't want to interact with him and says he's only here to improve his grades. He wonders why Ma is suddenly interested in him. Then Kyle tells everyone to stop the side conversations and focus on the exam problems. He says there was a very high difficulty problem in the exam called the 3 questions from hell. That's why he decided to handle one of the questions himself. Kyle wants to increase his influence among the nobles and knows this is his real chance because Baek had the lowest score in the class placement exam. So, he smiles and decides to show that he's better than him and starts solving the first hellish exercise. He claims it's a trap designed to mislead students. While the classmates are learning, the novel's protagonist keeps looking at Baek Yuziel and asks our hero if he thinks Kyle is right. Our hero doesn't know what to answer, because he himself doesn't understand what Kyle is doing. Nothing is clear to him, so he decides to be honest, and says he doesn't know. The entire classroom stops to listen to him because he's saying he doesn't understand what's being taught on the board. But everyone misunderstands and thinks he said Kyle is solving it wrong. The protagonist doesn't understand why everyone is looking at him like that. The student teaching at the board gets irritated and says if he's doing it wrong, Baek should come up and solve the problem himself. The protagonist is shocked because he didn't want this at all. At this, Yusung laughs, and the protagonist realizes he did it on purpose to test him. So, he walks down the stairs, wishing this embarrassing situation would end quickly. On the way, many students stare at him. He takes the chalk from Kyle's hand, puts on his Bulbo glasses, and prepares to solve the 3 hellish questions. Then he realizes it's more of a test of wordplay. For example, when a mage casts a spell that asks to shed tears, the goal was to understand that meaning, and the answer wasn't as difficult as it seemed. The earth cries in a state of decomposition. Our protagonist finds it ridiculous, but this was the type of question on the test. Kyle had solved it like a math problem, and talked about cracked soil when it cries. His method was wrong, but he reached the right answer by luck. Our hero says he can't show the real method, but he can show where Kyle went wrong. After all, the problem mentioned earth, but it could have been water, or wind, and he asks if his method would have worked then. That's why he's going to show a different method. Hearing this, Baejoy gets a little angry, because Baek is going to show a completely different method. He says Kyle was only right by luck and didn't follow the correct path, which completely shatters Kyle's confidence. He admits he was wrong. Then the protagonist starts teaching how to solve the problem. Everyone in the room stops to listen and take notes. Even Flame is surprised that the other students are writing down his every word. Aesol and Hun could have argued, but they also get distracted by the problem, which makes Flame wonder if this is right. Yusung is excited to meet him the next day. Soon, they both say goodbye with a smile and a wave. Our protagonist doesn't want to get involved with him in his life. Looking at the palm of his hand, he imagines it has some relation to using a phone. He doesn't understand why he attracted Baejoy's attention, and now he doesn't want it. He also finds it strange because he wasn't interested in anyone, not even Flame. Then he sees Hun Baein in the hallway, and wonders what she's doing there. Though it's none of his business, he starts to walk away. The girl calls out to him, starting a conversation and saying she wants to ask him something, which surprises our hero. She tells him that she didn't understand his solution earlier. Baek Yuzil thinks he couldn't explain the illogical test logically, and maybe she's confused about something, so she came to talk to him. She understands that the protagonist didn't want to explain in that environment. So, Hung Baein says she will compensate him, and tells him to explain everything now. Then they both go to the library, sit across from each other, and open the exam papers. He doesn't understand why she's paying him to explain 3 questions from the class test. Our protagonist says she only got 3 questions wrong and she came to ask him, who got everything else wrong. She says she's not ashamed of that, but she's ashamed of not understanding the answers to those 3. As long as she gets the answer, she's willing to do anything. Baek asks why she asked him. She's a princess and must have many friends. She says that among all the freshmen, only 3 people got those 3 questions right, and he is one of them. Hung knows those questions were designed to make people fail, yet all 3 answered them. So, she wants more help in difficult situations. Our hero hadn't realized they were trick questions that no one was supposed to solve. He finds it crazy and now understands why he got into class. He also understands Flame's rude behavior earlier, because she didn't know the details of this world, nor about those questions. But he can also say that Flame is different from others. After all, she read the entire novel and didn't play the game, yet she understands the world clearly. That's why she recognized Bae, who was an extra in the original story, and got in her way, and that's why she behaved that way with him, which makes him think. Then he asks if she forgot the request he made in exchange for help, and he says he has a simple request: he wants to trade the staff for a magic sword. After all, the blacksmiths in her kingdom can do it. She says such weapons are used by low-rank mercenaries, but our protagonist says these weapons match his style. Baek Yuzil doesn't want to explain that he has no mana. Hung Baein says she can easily do this for him. After this, he starts explaining the method to solve the first question, where he says the perspective needs to be changed, which confuses her. Hung's weakness is that her magic is purely academic, and she gets stuck in it. But she'll understand this in her second year, when she loses badly to him. So, he thinks he can't give hints now, only guy. Then he asks if she knows about nonsense quizzes to stimulate her thinking. The girl is surprised and says she has heard of nonsense questionnaires. Still, the protagonist decides to give an example and asks what is between one knee and another knee. Hung Baein replies that it's the back of the knee. He says the answer is the letter D. After all, it comes between one knee and the other knee, and that was his question. Hearing this, the girl gets very irritated by the ridiculous logic. He tells her to calm down and try to solve the other questions. After all, there are some formulas and techniques she doesn't know, and she'll have to use creativity. Then he asks if creativity can be memorized. At that moment, the girl answers no. He says that knowing many spells and techniques is necessary for a mage, but the most important thing is to see the world beyond the boundaries of thought. After all, magic can grow with a small change. But she only sees things objectively. A spell isn't just about memorizing and casting. Even though she's better than him in analytical thinking and judgment, she's behind in creativity, the most important quality of a mage. Hearing so many truths about herself, the girl becomes a little uncomfortable and tries to understand them. Our hero notices that while listening to criticism, her face has become more serious and closed off. Hung Baein understands everything he's saying, even if it's a bit complicated. Baek Yuzil finds this fascinating, because he himself doesn't know what he's saying, and yet she accepted it. Happy that she understood, he decides to start the test review. After this, he creates a quiz. A stone greeted aloud. What time is it? The girl says she doesn't know, and the answer to the quiz is 8-0 because it sounds like 8 log. Then he keeps asking such stupid questions that force creativity. Hung Baein can't answer any of them, which starts to irritate her. Our protagonist realizes she could explode at any moment. Still, he keeps asking questions, and makes another pun, and it seems she won't be able to solve this one either. Then suddenly, she gives the right answer. The teleportation mage says the girl got this question right. This is the first time he has seen her smile, whether in the game or in real life. He says he expected this from the princess, and her creativity is on another level. Hung doesn't want to be flattered, and asks for the next question. Our protagonist continues to teach her reasoning, and develop her creativity until night falls on the city. Then we see him walking tiredly through the streets because he spent 3 hours asking Princess Hung Baein nonsense questions, and he didn't expect her to take his words seriously. She is undoubtedly an excellent student with a sharp mind, but her weakness is rigid thinking. Our mage will feel a little guilty if she really becomes a villain. So, He needs the land transform and magic sword quickly to get more work done. Baek Yuzil decides to go back to buy the necessary books for class, but he starts to forget the streets and wanders aimlessly until he finally finds the place he was looking for, which looks quite sinister. Going inside, he notices that everything is worn down and there are very old books. He knows the owner has a strange habit. He pretends to be asleep and watches the customers. This is a dirty and nameless bookstore. The notes of Mila, a top graduate from Stella 10 years ago, are hidden here. In the game, pressing a button would show the lesson on the screen, but in real life, he has to find the book. Not only that, but the speed at which his grades increase also depends on which book he uses. Initially, he bought books from famous places, but later he found out that the good books are hidden, like in such a bookstore. That's why he's looking for Mila's magic engineering notes. This almost guarantees he'll get a perfect score, and using the bulbo glasses increases his grades even more. Finally, in that dilapidated bookstore, he finds the book he was looking for. But just as he's about to pick it up, someone bumps into him and grabs the same book. He sees it's the girl Aisel, trying to take Mila's notes. The boy says he knows her because she's very famous. She recognizes him from being in the remedial group and knows his name is Baek. However, the girl forgets that she had met him before coming to Stella Academy. Aisel says she liked his debate but wished he had finished the explanation. After this, the girl apologizes with the book in her hand. Our protagonist thanks her for not taking the book he wanted, and wonders why such a famous girl is in this bookstore. Then he checks the price of the book on the back cover, but he's still confused about why she's picking up so many books here. It's a used bookstore, and poor students like him come here because Aisel's family has gone bankrupt. So, she has no choice but to come here. Maybe her father was killed by dark demonic humans and the family was ruined. It's sad for a princess to be buying used books and checking prices due to a lack of money. And not only that, but her ending in the original novel is very unhappy, where she is killed even before fleeing, the protagonist of this world. Baek Yuzil concludes that the most unfortunate character in the game is Princess Aisel. After this, he goes to the bookstore owner and places the stack of books he wants to buy in front of him. The girl looks at him a bit intimidated and says he chose interesting books. She didn't expect that from him. Our protagonist notices she was about to call him an idiot, which makes him feel awkward. Then she asks why he's studying topics like advanced stealing theory. After all, this theory is related to ancient magic that uses items and is considered obsolete in the current world. Our hero agrees that alchemy and magic engineering don't have much use in society. Still, it's a topic he wants to study, and that's why he chose these books, especially because others think like him, which will make it easier to get good grades in this class. After this, he says goodbye and leaves with his books. He knows that, like the princess, most people don't want to attend stealing theory classes, so he's going to take advantage of that and get good grades this semester without problems. The girl is surprised by his attitude, and the day ends. The next day, we see Princess Aisel going to the first class of nihilism. She believes it's easy to get good grades in this subject, and it won't be too difficult. The classroom is full, and even smart students are enrolled in this class because they find the subject easy. Some people also panic, and the princess realizes she'll have to work harder in other classes. Some time passes, and the Nayla class ends, after which all the students head to the cafeteria. The princess is tired, because her classes have too many students, and getting a scholarship will be difficult. First, she decides to eat something so she can study further. But she only has meal vouchers for the semester and thinks it's better to eat less. Then she sees Baek wearing the bulbo glasses, studying intently and completely focused. Aisel wonders what he's doing in that classroom, and notices that there are very few students in that class, and the grades are also questionable. She imagines that this class might be in danger of being cancelled. Then she thinks that if she enrolls in this class, she can increase her grades without spending much time, which will save time for studying other subjects, and allow her to earn more money for the scholarship. She thinks maybe Baek already knew this subject was easy for scoring, and that's why he's here. In other words, he has planned his classes to make his life easier. But then she changes her mind and believes it's just a coincidence. Baek's classroom is for nihilism. In the classroom, the professor assumes that everyone there knows the origin story of magic, where the white mage was the founder and spread magic in the world. This is Professor Lean of the Divine Moon, who explains that the white mage taught magic to the elves of the natural class and taught humans matter control and elemental magic, and then went to the heavens. Hearing this, our protagonist thinks about how he will deal with this for 3 years. For an adult like him, going back to school is torture. Still, He believes that the Divine Moon professor's lecture is important and this class might give a clue to the game's true ending. Even though it's just his speculation, he believes it. Then he notices that Princess Aisel has also started coming to this class. He doesn't remember any main character being in this classroom, but the teleportation mage doesn't care much. Then the professor says that human curiosity didn't end with elemental magic. Human mages traveled the world and stole magic from other species. Still not satisfied, they couldn't learn much more. The founding mage left behind 12 divine moons and disappeared. He asks if anyone knows about these 12 divine moons. The princess says they are guardians who protect the power balance in the continent and are spread across different places. The professor says she is right. They have special powers that protect the continent. Giving an example, he mentions the sixth moon, Red Summer, which symbolizes summer, and wielded a red flame. It is said that its flames never go out. If someone were to go into the deep sea of Salmanaka, they would find red flames there. Our protagonist doesn't understand. It was a kind of pun, but he doesn't find it funny. After all, any living being who enters the Sea King's domain will be instantly destroyed. Then the professor explains that this is the Livian coast, a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean generated by one of the 2 divine moons of winter. They have individual powers, but when they come together, a miracle happens. A student asks what kind of miracle. The professor says no one knows because these protective beings fell asleep thousands of years ago. Our hero knows he's right because he met some divine moons while playing the game. However, in limited time events, he could only meet 5. He did this by gathering information from community players. If he's right, the 12 moons are related to the game's true ending. Bae concludes that in the last 10 years, no one has reached the true ending because the answer is hidden in content that no one has seen. After all, he himself risked his life many times and only met 5 moons. But if he wants to see the true ending, he has no other choice. So, he has to do it all over again, no matter how much risk is involved. We see Baek Uziel's training, where a female teacher explains to him that strength isn't everything. No matter how strong an attack is, it must hit the enemy to be useful, otherwise, it's useless. The one explaining this is the fire element professor, Hung Yil. After getting the advice, our main character focuses on the target, which is a straw dummy. Then he casts his fire magic and easily hits the dummy, which impresses the teacher, because, in reality, the dummy wasn't even hit. The rest of the students feel as if something terrible has happened. Then, from behind the smoke, Princess Hung Bayan appears, and everyone's attention shifts to her. In reality, the princess was watching the training and remembers that she had once again shown her sad side to her mother. Thinking about this, she imagines her mother being disappointed in her. Then a red-haired girl comes to her and comforts her, asking if she's okay, and praising her for being an incredible person. She says that Aisel used the same magic as the princess, but it was even stronger, yet it missed the target. The girl says that just using such high-level magic is impressive. To be honest, she had heard a lot about the princess since childhood. Aisel thinks she recognizes her. She is our swine, a fire mage. She heard that she's a new level genius of the fire element. Still, she thinks her magic can't compare to the princess's. After this, she adds that the girl's aim is very good. Arswan thinks that if she practices more, no one will come close to her. Despite not being very sure, the princess feels better after this conversation. Then she leaves, which leaves the girl a bit stunned. Late that afternoon, the princess goes to a quiet place. Someone finds her there too, and calls out to her. It's Tyrian, Hung Bayan's personal guard, who says she can have a drink and some sweets. He talks about the refurbishing budget for the staff she had asked about earlier. Due to the staff's quality, the magic sword is being made to a high standard, but there's something questionable about it. Tyrian says he heard that these wands continuously drain the owner's mana. The princess asks if it's some demonic tool. He says it resonates with nature's energy. Aisel finds it very strange that a wand both takes the owner's mana and resonates with nature's energy. She asks why the trash staff is mid to high tier. Her personal guard explains that's the real reason. Its original ability strengthens the user's mana, which is why the staff was high tier. But because it drains mana upon being held, it was downgraded to mid to high tier. Then he asks how she, a student, knows all this, which also confuses him. Aisel thinks that most people won't be able to resonate with that kind of staff, even if she herself doesn't fully understand. But she's sure that commoner will understand because she thinks he's a one-of-a-kind person. A few days pass, and the semester officially begins. They are in an attack magic class, which requires more concentration than other magic. Therefore, the Manhwa orbital class, taught by Professor Kim, is mandatory. From that day on, They will have battles with each other to learn shooting and aiming. At that time, they discuss the orbital formula, which is very nerdy and hard to understand. Students say that if someone's main element isn't water, they won't be able to answer the subject's questions. Our protagonist thinks they are doing this to irritate him and trying to make it boring. He thinks these classes are even harder than his real-life Korean classes. Then the orbology professor asks him to solve an exercise. A little later, he completes the exercise on the board, which surprises Professor Carly. He had solved a very difficult equation very easily. She asks if Baek Uziel's main attribute is water, to which he says no. After this, she says the rest of the problems will continue in the next class. After solving that problem, our hero exits the classroom with an observant aura. The princess wants to talk to him in the hallway and says she has a question for him and asks if he has anything to say. He is impressed by this. The girl had noticed something while observing the teleportation mage. Apart from grades, he is very intelligent and can be compared to the top student in the rankings. When he went to the board and solved the exercise as if it were nothing, she was very impressed. That problem was at a university level, not theirs. Considering Stella a place for geniuses, she wants to know who Baek Uziel really is. She thinks it might not be the case, but she feels he uses a course enrollment strategy. If so, she needs to get information from him for the next class. Our protagonist asks if she's interested in him, to which she disgustedly says it's disgusting, and he agrees. Inside, he also feels disgusted because he's an adult and isn't attracted to anyone. She looks at his classes and thinks he can easily get high grades in all of them. She directly asks what his strategy is and where he learned all this. Our protagonist says it's just a coincidence. After this, he starts to leave, while she says it's important to her. The girl tells him to stop, but when she sees him leaving, she gets a little embarrassed. But it doesn't affect Aisel, and she shouts for him to wait for her. Baek tells her to learn this stuff from others. After all, there are many smart people there, and he advises her to replicate what he's doing, because she herself said she was observing him. The princess says that if she goes to his classes, her grades might be negatively affected. Baek knows that if she doesn't get a scholarship, she'll suffer a huge loss. Still, she's worrying about others' grades. Despite being a bit annoying, she is the female protagonist of the story. So she asks him to recommend a class where good grades can be easily obtained and tries to get information out of our hero with her cute looks, but he doesn't fall for it at all. In fact, she had also prepared compensation, because she knew he wouldn't agree just like that. Baek doesn't understand why students in this school like offering compensation so much. After this, she asks him if he knows anything about the story of the ghost of the seventh tower. The teleportation mage says he knows about it. Aisel explains that not many people know about it because it was an abandoned structure that disappeared. Many barriers prevent people from going near that tower. But before she can finish explaining, our protagonist feels like he's going to go crazy, because this is a huge piece of information, and with it, Flame's affection for the male protagonist increases. Aisel knows this because in the original novel, Flame had this information, and is aware of it. The princess was supposed to give this information only to the male protagonist, not to a background character like him. After this, our protagonist changes the topic and says he's not interested in that horror story. She says it's not a scary story and asks if he's afraid of ghosts, and she's going to tell him anyway. But the protagonist changes his attitude, and now doesn't want to hear her story, because he knows its impact. Besides, Princess Aisel genuinely wants to give him something, and that's enough. He tells her to choose the meditation journey and the art subject to do well. She sees that Baek has chosen lunar divine studies and asks if he's interested in cultivation. He says it's not like that, and explains that his master was also a bishop like him, and his magical power grew through meditation. The princess is surprised to hear this. Although this information is not widely known yet, for bishops who have destructive large-scale magic, meditation becomes very important. A spell involves many formulas and equations, but mana moves from the mind, so meditation is necessary. He says he normally wouldn't tell anyone, but the girl is cute, so he makes an exception. Aisel thanks him, and thinks it won't help her grades, but she'll enroll anyway. After she leaves, Baek is surprised that he told her this, and worries about the butterfly effect. But if he ignores her out of fear, she might suffer a tragic death in this life too. He says it will be good for the princess if she takes the meditation class. Thinking this, he believes that he himself is a mage and should train. In the game, Baek only trained his body, and his magical awakening was delayed, leaving him with only an awakened physique. In the game, experience was gained with a simple button press, but now he has to do it himself through training. Everything is quiet because there have been no quests or monster hunts to gain experience from. for which the teleporting mage is thankful to Princess Aesol. Reaching his dorm, he notices it's very large. At Stella, all students live in their respective dorms. In the game, the dorm room was for decoration, and for Bae, it was the only place left after his village burned down. The dorm is divided by class, and the size also changes accordingly. Class students get the highest floors, which are exclusively for them. But our protagonist feels lonely. Then he uses something that calms him, and that is meditation. Stats aren't the most important thing, because he needs to get used to this body. In the game, Bae Uziel was a genius who manifested a sword aura from the continuous circulation of mana in his body. No one paid attention to him, so no one found out. But Bae is a genius master swordsman, the only one in the world to reach the pinnacle of swordsmanship. He has to walk the same path again. Just now he's controlling Bae. He knows that breathing coordinates the flow of mana in the body, and he wants to increase it while inhaling. His skills don't level up by collecting experience but by continuously using the skill and training without stopping. A lot of time passes, and our mage continues to meditate and control the mana in his body. He imagines that Bae in the game must have felt the same sensation. Having accepted mana leakage syndrome as a part of him since childhood, despite being weak, he feels that the mana leakage skill has leveled up. The teleportation skill also levels up, and he celebrates because he's one step closer to his goal. He's happy and determined to get the true ending. The next day, Flame feels the grass and wind through artificial magic. Stella's dimensional dome is like a pocket dimension inside the academy campus, allowing the size and characteristics of the place to be freely manipulated. All events like dungeons, portals, and monster training happen there. That's why a total of 141 students gather there, 50 from one room, 50 from another room from class A, and 41 from class S. In the novel, there were 39 students in class S, and maybe with her, it would be 40. She didn't expect anyone else to be added, and wonders where Bae Uziel came from. After all, there were a total of 140 first-year students, and then she was added. It's clear that Bae was in the original story too. She decides she'll gradually figure things out and find out who he really is. After all, she thinks she's the only one in the world who knows the novel and has come inside it. Realizing that class is about to start, she notices they are talking to young Master Jeremy, who says he has already finished the registrations. Hearing this, they all sign up for gentle magic research together. The friendly boy says they will all have fun together in this subject. The girl understands that this is Prince Jeremy, who was obsessed with Aesol in the novel and became a villain after she rejected him. Even though he looks kind, his actions are calculated, so she wants to keep her distance from him. At this, Jeremy waves at her, and Flame thinks he's handsome but doesn't understand why everyone is so into him. Among all the groups at the academy, the princess's group is the most notable and filled with people. Now that this is her world, she decides to compose herself and prepare for the future. Jeremy, for some reason, keeps looking at Flame. The combat magic professor is about to start a simple training before the day's lesson. He wants to know everyone's level to teach them properly, and will be responsible for the training. Professors have the right to deduct or increase points, and students can be expelled if they fall below a certain number. After giving this notice, he explains the training. He says they will do simulated training in a dungeon with real events, traps, and monsters. Defeating a risk level 1 monster will get 4 points, a risk level 2 monster will get 8 points, and getting a point stick will get 20 points. The top 5 will get a small reward, and those with 0 points will have their points deducted. If anyone is scared to go alone, they can form a team, and the points will be split. He says that if they defeat another student, they will get their points too. After this, the professor disappears. The students are shocked because the professor vanished. Immediately after, the ground starts to shake and transform. The entire environment changes, and becomes a Jack and the Beanstalk map with huge trees and enormous vines. Students find themselves surrounded by large vines and trees. Flame also feels that she should go on this mission. Looking at her staff, Jackie comes and asks if she will be alone in the practical training. The girl prefers to be alone to earn more points instead of forming a team. Her friend understands that she doesn't want to form a group, because the points will be shared among teammates. Then she says they'll form a group next time, and they say goodbye. At that moment, she feels people are making fun of her and imitating her. She imagines it's the faces of her classmates and moves forward alone. An hour passes, and she uses magic from her staff to face monsters, wondering when the practical test will end because it's exhausting. Suddenly, huge vines start emerging from the ground, and she has to cast a spell to protect herself. After all, not just the creatures, but the field itself attacks, and Stella Academy cannot be underestimated. She has collected 18 points and understands the difference between being alone and in a group. She has to keep moving and gaining points. But ahead, she senses a strange presence. Seeing a humanoid appearance, she wonders if it's a creature or not. Then she concludes it's a person, and that a student can hide their presence at this level. Flame herself is hiding her presence with the one with nature skill. Her specialties are binding, destroying, defending, and healing. She thinks ambushing the opponent is a good idea. Then she notices that the boy behind the tree is Bae. She realizes he is also alone and had rejected those who wanted to be in a group. In Baek's hand, she sees that he already has a point stick. Then Flame understands that this is the perfect chance to test him, and an opportunity to take the stick with her magic. She creates a set of lights from her staff. The distance between them is 15 meters, and Baek won't be able to put up a strong defense at that distance. Then she conjures a light bullet and throws it at him. The bullet-shaped light spell, coming at high speed, almost hits our protagonist. He notices the bullet and uses teleport to avoid the blow, which surprises Flame because she didn't imagine he could do that. Our protagonist completely vanishes from the surroundings as soon as he uses his magic. Trembling, the princess wonders how he did that. How did he dodge a second-class spell at such a short distance? Then we see him teleport again, appearing behind a girl. She wonders if she tried to take him out with a light bullet. Because his syndrome is at a higher level, he survived. Now his teleport reaches 12 meters, and the cooldown time is 3 seconds. He still has 2 teleports left. He should take advantage of the terrain to handle her at a better spot. Then he uses his teleportation ability again, and maintains a safe distance, because he doesn't want to take too much risk. His aim is only to secure 5th place. The reward for 5th place is ethereal roots, which increases both health and strength. He knows the top 4 spots will go to the main characters because they already have several point sticks. Then he sees some people ahead who recognize him immediately. It's a group of bullies who recognize Baek Uziel from class and look at him with malicious eyes. Our protagonist recognizes the boy as Raiden, who has become famous in school in the last few days. He is a member of the student council and part of Jeremy's puppet group. Seeing that he has 3 point sticks catches his attention. He thinks that for a puppet, he has collected a lot of sticks, while they believe Baek cheated to get into class. Raiden says the academy's quality has dropped since they admitted a student who got 3 strange questions right. After this, the bully tells our protagonist to drop his stick and give it to him. But Baek doesn't give the stick. Raiden understands he's resisting and wants to attack, asking if he will face the whole group alone and if he can use his mid to high tier staff, because without a staff, he can't use magic. Baek knows it's difficult to face Raiden, from a famous family, with a level 1 teleport. If he had 3 teleports, it would be easier. But he has 1 variable the point stick in his hand, and the place is a dungeon. He extends the stick towards the bullies as if he's going to give it, and Raiden believes him. Then our mage suddenly teleports very close, which shocks him. Our protagonist smiles and immediately attacks. He gets hit and, irritated, says he will catch Uziel. After this, our hero disappears and appears behind Raiden, saying it was dangerous, and thanks him for the 2 point sticks he stole. The bully gets very angry and demands the sticks back. Our protagonist refuses and knows these sticks are efficient. He found this out by coincidence when he saw players playing the game and learned that the sticks are bugged items. Their durability is high, spells don't destroy them, and they have strength like magical tools. They are useful for mages, and for Baek, who fights physically, it becomes a high-power weapon. Raiden wonders how he took the sticks while teleporting. Then he argues with the group and tells them to catch Baek. At the same time, the dungeon starts to change shape, and his plan is disturbed. He tells the group to stay together and charge their spells so they don't lose sight of the enemy. One of them notices our hero running away and tells the leader. The mages start attacking so he can't escape. They are better than expected, yet the protagonist easily dodges with teleport. Everyone wonders where he went. Due to speed bursts, they can't find him. With years of player versus player combat experience, he takes advantage of the terrain. The dungeon changes shape again and stops the bullies. Raiden says he's still nearby and they should wait until the terrain stops changing. He tells them to be careful because if a spell fails, there will be magical ricocket. At that moment, our protagonist appears and attacks with the same point stick, making the mages fall back. One tries to cast a spell but fails. Then the magical ricocket starts, and lightning falls from the sky, hitting everyone, while our protagonist teleports away, understanding the fight is over. Finally, Baek takes the last missing stick from Raiden's hand. He jokes that if he gets a girlfriend, he'll give it to her, which makes Raiden even angrier and demand it back. Baek decides not to take the last stick because it would be a hassle, and then teleports away, disappearing from their sight. Raiden gets angry, and the mage magically disappears from there, while a girl is hiding and watching everything. Baek walks happily in the forest, knowing he hit the jackpot by stealing the sticks. If it had been a normal fight, he would have been robbed, but being in a dungeon made everything different. Then he feels a strange sensation from somewhere that disturbs him. Behind Baek, on the horizon, a fireball forms and suddenly falls on the forest, causing the entire surrounding area to burn. The fireball destroys everything, and he is left in shock. Still, he manages to dodge with his magic and isn't hurt. But the destruction and blaze almost catch him. He understands this ability belongs to a human who is coming out of the smoke. It's a woman holding a staff, who asks why he didn't take the last stick with the bullet. That girl turns out to be Hun Bayan, and recognizing her, he wonders why she came here, and why she cast this spell. He says she misunderstood, and he didn't take the stick, because he couldn't, and it's none of his business. She says she was just waiting for him to pick up all the sticks, so she could steal everything from our main character's hands at once. He also reminds her that he was the one teaching her classes for the past few days. Hung says she has royal blood. Then she calls for a duel, because taking things from a commoner is not worthy of her. Our protagonist says that robbing a weak person like him wouldn't be fair for her either. Hung says she saw from the beginning that he was playing with those bullies and won by defeating them without even using magic properly. Bayan has to hurry so she doesn't get in trouble with her mother, and needs a lot of points quickly. After this, she starts hearing people's conversations from a distance. Some people are saying that Baek Uziel is running away and wondering where he's going. Hung recognizes it's Raiden's group's voice, and indeed, the mage is running, and she didn't even notice. She wonders if she should attack them, but she knows that defeating 6 people alone is difficult even for her. So, she thinks it's better to wait for their fight to end. Then, when they are tired, she will steal all the sticks at once. At that moment, she sees our protagonist attacking a bully from behind with a stick. She notices that he doesn't use any other magic besides teleport to attack enemies. Even though they are weaker than him, they were raised in elite and mage families. She realizes that if Baek can play with them, he is very strong. So, she decides she has to use her full power to burn him. Then she summons her strongest fire magic and throws it directly at our hero. He dodges Princess Hung's fire magic with a very agile jump, but the fire starts spreading in the jungle, and he has to dodge with more agility. He understands that Princess Hung's magic is dangerous, but he has already trained his intuition for such situations. However, using 2 teleport spells seems difficult, so he thinks of another way. Hung Ban asks if he won't use his wand. Baek says she stole his wand. Hung says he must have the basic one the academy provides. Our protagonist had forgotten about it, but he received one at the entrance ceremony, which he doesn't like to use. Hung gets irritated, because that commoner always plays like this, and gets on her nerves. The princess stops thinking about the other participants and decides to go all out against Baek. Even though she had already put everything into this fight, she decides to go beyond her limits. Hung won't use magic anymore because her anger is enough to finish that boy. The two stand facing each other, while the jungle burns behind them. Hung Ban decides she will finish this commoner forever. The flames of her magic move towards the boy, and he is shocked. They pass by him, but he moves aside and dodges. As he moves past the magic, the fire intensifies, and he realizes that if he had been even a little late, it would have been his end. The fire keeps spreading, and he knows that even if he dodges, the attack's range is too wide. He wonders what to do. Then he hears a different sound and notices something behind him that he can use right now. He immediately teleports to a place where the flames can't reach. The moment he leaves his spot, an extremely powerful fire hits that very second. Our protagonist understands he was lucky this time but might not be next time. Even if he gets close to Han, the fire around her explodes as he approaches. Baek knows this from losing to fire class mages countless times. This means Princess Hung Ban is much stronger than anyone thought. If the field were open, he would lose this battle in less than a minute. In fact, he can't even call it a fight because he's just running away from her while teleporting. Several homing fire bursts come directly at Baek, but he's not going to stand there and do nothing as she thinks. Then he jumps and starts dodging the exploding fire, leaving a trail behind and not stopping, while the fire bursts keep chasing him. He notices he can see each fire burst separately. When they get close to him, Baek deflects their trajectory with his weapon. Hung Ban finds this impossible, but this is his survival strategy. As time passes, our protagonist's senses start to slow down, because playing a game through a screen and fighting a mage in person feel different. Everything seems more vivid. He feels the flow of mana as if he can hold it in his hands. His sixth sense becomes as familiar as seeing and hearing, and through it, he keeps blocking attacks with his weapon. This place full of trees is more advantageous for her, because she has a fire attribute. Still, to defeat Baek, she needs to cast even stronger magic, who is currently running continuously and moving forward, avoiding the flames. Instead of being defensive, he wants to use magic battles to break Hum's shield. He starts running and approaches her from behind, looking at the fire shield around her. As soon as he sees an opening, he sprints with all his might and tries to hit her. He uses his teleport and goes straight inside the fire princess's barrier, which leaves her in shock. The moment she sees the enemy inside her shield, she prepares a spell. This is a skill of fire class bishops that causes an explosion and a 2-meter radius. Instead of panicking, our protagonist smiles slightly, because he has experienced this many times, and immediately takes a big step back to get out of the spell's range. Then he kicks the girl's magic sphere with his foot, and a crack appears in her magic barrier, and finally, it shatters completely. Humbayan is shocked, and as the barrier breaks, she falls backward. Our protagonist looks at her from top to bottom and says he won the fight. The princess asks who he is, to which Baek replies that he's just a normal student. Then he tells the person who is hiding to come out now, and step out from behind the tree. At that moment, Flame comes out from behind the tree. Flame says she wasn't hiding and asks how he knew she was there. Our protagonist says it's intuition, while in reality, it's a kind of sixth sense that detects mana leakage. Flame doesn't quite believe the intuition part, but lets the conversation continue. After this, she asks how he broke the princess's magic shield with the scoring stick. She asks if he did that with intuition too. The hero understands it's a bug and can't tell the truth. He explains that the stick is very sturdy, but Flame says a magic shield can't be broken with such a hit. Flame asks why ordinary knights disappeared from this world, and he has no answer to that. She has always been suspicious of Baek, and now directly asks who he really is. Our protagonist gets tense, and thinks this might be the end, and it hasn't even been a month since he came here. He decides he will only reveal his real truth when Flame owes him a favor because it's risky. He says that even if she has doubts about him, he's not a bad person like her. The girl doesn't understand, and he says he genuinely wants to help her. Flame doesn't understand what he means by help. Then he starts to leave and says he doesn't have time to talk right now because he just needs to disappear quietly. Then Humbayan throws her scoring sticks at the teleporting mage's head. She says he dodged spells and traps, so she thought he would catch her sticks too. Sensitivity to mana leakage also has its limits, and he knows he couldn't do anything. Sensitivity is determined by mental strength, and due to exhaustion, he has a terrible headache, which gets worse from the thrown item. The princess says that because she lost a Bae, he can take her sticks. Our hero understands that if he takes them all, his ranking will become very high, and the other items are of no use to him. Still, he picks up the sticks from the ground and decides he will only take one, and she can keep the rest. After this, he leaves for good, saying goodbye to both girls. Deep inside, he thinks that showing kindness even after defeating an enemy is an admirable attitude. But the girls think he's a complete idiot for leaving the sticks, and a stupid commoner. Both girls constantly think about Baek's true identity. Meanwhile, 3 people are looking at a holographic map. They are teachers watching the students' performance in the practical test, and notice that this year's class students are very remarkable. A magical elder and an advisor from the Blue Tower say that watching the matches has been quite enjoyable. From the Guild of Magical Elders to the Blue Tower Council, everyone has gathered to watch the freshman training. They are trying to recruit talent, and many teachers are also monitoring this practical training. Watching the clash, they realize that Heaven has run into Meduzon. Both start fighting, testing spells from their wands. But Yuzon, at the age of 17, is already using class 3 power leaps continuously, and dodging all spells at high speed. Usually, a mage reaches the 3rd class around the age of 20, but Ma has mastered it at 17. The magical advisors can't believe it. After all, both also command 3 types of elemental attributes. Usually, a mage controls only one attribute, and mastering 2 elements takes a lot of training. But mastering 3 attributes is a sign of exceptional talent given at birth. Suddenly, the magical combat professor is shocked when he sees something. A giant black phoenix, a secret boss, appears on the battlefield. It lets out a loud screech and starts flying above the 2 strong students. Then the giant creature falls to the ground, completely defeated. Behind it stands a girl holding a staff, who apologizes for the interruption and for defeating the monster. The magical combat professor realizes this student is a Solmoth. The secret boss is a hidden event that appears when high-level abilities clash. Defeating such a large monster alone shouldn't be easy, but she did it very easily. The elders think that if her father hadn't been the traitor Archduke Moth, she could have gone even further. The mages watch the Princess of Ebleudet's fight and have never seen her opponent before. But they are surprised when they see her spell, called Flash's Prize. For centuries, any scholars have tried to control this ability, but they all failed and either died or gave up in the end, because it's considered a magic that is completely impossible to control. The student who controls the flash like an extension of his own limbs seems very impressive to everyone. Everyone wonders if such a boy really exists. The professor says his name is Baek Uziel, a very unique student who uses the flash as his specialty. This is a completely different problem from the absurd talents of the top 3 in class. They ask why he's acting like a fool instead of using other magic, because if he did, the duel would have been over long ago. But then someone confirms that he is genuinely fighting seriously. It's Ilman Elfin, a young boy in fancy clothes, who says that from the start of the fight, he has been fighting seriously, and it's very interesting. His fighting style reminds him of the knights of old, meaning the knights of the chivalric order who disappeared with bladed weapons. Hearing this, everyone gets confused because he's a very young student. Chivalry refers to the spirit of those knights who fought with swords even in a magical world. Since ancient times, heroes have fought to save the world from evil, and it is said they always fought with a sword in hand. Although magic exists, fighting with a sword is not practical. Yet this student uses a stick in the same way. If Elman Elvin's assumption is correct, then he is the headmaster of the academy, which is considered the best magic school in the world. He is a 9th class master mage and one of the 10 great mages of the continent. When such a great mage of the world thinks so, the rest of the people believe him. The first dungeon training ends, and everyone returns to the facilities. Some students are practicing their magic on straw dummies, like Havayan, who feels his mana is almost depleted. So, he decides he needs to conserve mana because the practical test is going to be long. Out of 140 students, 39 have already been eliminated. Aesel takes first place by defeating the boss monster, and Bate comes in second. The genius Met Yuzong comes in 6th place, and our protagonist doesn't feel as victorious. He knows that if Aesel hadn't interfered at that time and defeated the boss, he could have defeated Ma. It's always been like this since he first met the prodigy. He's always relaxed, but the results are better than expected. In this training, he placed magic runes at strategic locations and calculated his movements, but Met easily blocked all his attacks. He wonders if he'll ever be able to defeat him and if it's possible to break the wall of talent. The boy thinks he's weaker than the prodigy but decides to stop blaming himself and work harder. At the same time, Princess Hivaram watches him training with a hateful expression and tension. Suddenly, she stops near him and burns a straw dummy with fire magic. Her flames completely destroy the training dummy, and the purple-haired boy stops and looks at Hung. Hung is frustrated at coming in third because her mother was very angry about the point sticks. If she hadn't taken back the stick she gave, she would have been punished. In this anger, she keeps blasting the training area with her magic. He then wonders what happened to the princess that she's so angry. He thinks it might be his imagination, but her magic seems more precise than last time. The princess's fire magic is so destructive that subtle control is considered almost impossible. Yet it seems she has improved in such a short time. In reality, Baek's special lessons are having an effect. As soon as her focus shifted from the useless questions, her magical ability improved significantly. Even though in her eyes he is a low-born person with an irritating personality, Hung believes he is the only one who knows how to fix her flaws. She is still irritated. Then Tyrion comes and says that the upgrade of the Teruvan staff is complete. After this, she starts to go to tell student Baek Yeel. The princess grabs her shoulder and stops her from going to the protagonist. In the second main tower of Stella Academy, Hung goes herself, because she wants to find Baek near the professor's laboratories. But she regrets it because she could have gone to the training field, and now it seems like she's chasing after a commoner. She thinks about going back. Then someone recognizes her and calls out. It's Professor Hamel. They meet after a long time, because the professor had taught her magic in the palace, and now she has grown up quite a bit. She says she came to Stella Academy for some work, and is leaving now, and today the academy is very hectic, so it's better to leave early. Magical officers are looking for a student named Baek. Hearing this, the princess is shocked. The professor knows that Hung has faced him, and found out that he doesn't use magic. Hung gets sad, because she performed poorly in front of her most admired master. Then she says she doesn't want to blame herself, because that commoner was trying his best, and she accepts her defeat. But the professor says he didn't use magic and won because of his conviction. She explains that the director saw a practice session and thought the student was trying to bring back the knights of old. Bayan doesn't understand her teacher's talk about ancestral knights, because during the fight, he used the point stick like a sword. At this, she agrees that it was like the magic sword of ancient knights. Not using magic in a magic academy should bring more penalties in a practical test, which means he chose this path intentionally. Even after achieving an impressive feat like Flash's prize, he keeps challenging them. Now it's not hard to think that this is the boy's real conviction. The dream of becoming a knight becomes a reason for mockery, and Hun wonders why anyone would want to become a knight in this era. She sees that he wants to be a knight from the heart, which is why he also asked her not to bother him during the fight, and she got very angry. At that time, Baek finds the girl, and he is eating the idyllic roots, the 5th place reward. She says she didn't come there because of him, and then gives the Truvanikuvan to our protagonist. It's an intangible sword, and asking the princess for help was the right thing to do because he couldn't have bought it with his own money. Our protagonist is left with the box containing the magic sword with extraordinary abilities. The girl sees the commoner's excitement, and asks if he really doesn't use any other magic. Our hero is confused by this question, and the girl leaves without hearing the answer. Thinking, he remembers that Professor Lee also talked about him not using other magic. Baek doesn't understand the people who talk about his conviction, and understanding is hard. After getting the magic sword, the teleporting mage thinks he can easily handle the next episode. So, he decides to test the sword now. Holding the Teruvan in his hand, he starts to inject mana into it, and a surprising result comes. The sword grows larger, and starts to emit a bright light. Our protagonist understands that this is better than he expected because the sword is very large and bright. He thinks if Flame had gotten it, it would have been more colorful, because her presence is very special. She is the person who has mastered the magic of elves, dwarfs, and angels all at once. This staff continuously drains the user's energy, so not everyone can use it. Flame recovers mana from natural energy and uses it as a finishing blow. He has no mana, and even if he absorbs it, the leaks won't let him store it. The concentration of mana and his breathing will determine the power of the Tarian strikes. So, he opens his attribute and status table to check. He sees that with magical power leakage at level 2, his strength, agility, and senses are increasing. He notes that the 5th place prize from the practical activity was a bag of roots, which increased his strength. Now that he has this weapon, gaining experience will be easier. So Baek decides to train using the sword as well, and now he's going to be busy. From today, the professor says that real magic practice will happen in class. The instructor for defensive magic, Baran, tells everyone to take staves with magical shields. He notices that there are excellent students in the class, and it was good to separate them according to level. Then he sees our protagonist, the famous poor origin student from class, the boy who resonated with a high-level staff and came in 5th in training. This irritates the teacher, and he asks why he's not doing anything in class. Baek replies that he's learning another defensive technique and doesn't need basic spells. Byron becomes curious about his defensive technique and is also irritated inside that a commoner can't do that. Anyway, he heard that the boy doesn't use any magic besides teleport. So, he tells him to show his personal defense technique to everyone, and the opponent will be more so from Class B, a pink-haired arrogant boy. To remain a defense instructor, connections are important, so he chose more so from the Scalvan Empire. If there's a big gap in a duel against his class student, it will be good for him. At the same time, the two face each other on the stage. Morso Doden is laughing while our protagonist looks serious and a little disheartened. All the nobles support the boy, hoping he defeats the commoner Baek Yuzil. Our hero notices that Is and Raiden's group is also there. Magic wasn't being used in this mandatory class, so he wasn't doing anything. But now he has to fight. He knows that Professor Byron is famous for his classes since the first year. He decides to take the fight seriously and see the result of his training. The duel will be of attack and defense in 2 turns, and they won't use any other magic. Morsoden starts the attack and holds the staff in his hand. Everyone trusts in the noble's victory because he uses aggressive earth magic, which will be difficult to defend against. The teacher says to start the duel, and immediately the rich kid invokes 2nd-tier earth magic, while the rule was to only use 1st-tier spells. Wondering if the commoner boy can survive this attack, Morso unleashes his date and stone-piercing magic towards our protagonist. Seeing the magic coming at him, he activates the Teruvan and cuts the enemy's magic with his magic sword. As he breaks the noble's magic as if it's nothing, everyone stares at him in shock, and the noble is stunned that his magic disappeared with a single slash. No one thought that cutting a spell would make it vanish like that. The defense teacher realizes that Baek Uziel really did dissipate the enemy's magic. Every magic has a flow of mana, and if cut at the right place, the spell ends, and our protagonist does this with extreme ease. Right now, he can only cut class 3 spells, but Baek thinks that so much training was worth it, and he can continue the fight using Teruvan's vulnerability. The noble becomes very scared and angry because a commoner destroyed his magic. He knows that if Morso Jordan loses, Professor Byron will also be in trouble. The rich boy believes his defense is good and says this technique can only cut one attack at a time and has a limit. If multiple attacks come, the commoner won't be able to defend, and he starts to smile maliciously. Our protagonist gets irritated because the enemy is talking too much. Then he sees several strikes coming his way. His enemy conjures several mana rocks from his wand and attacks him with them. People watching the fight think this is too much, and the other student will get badly hurt. With an evil smile, as the spell is cast, everyone thinks the teacher should stop the fight. This spell is the Boulder Stone Piercing, which comes straight at the teleporting mage. Our protagonist is scared when he sees the magical stones coming towards him. A total of 11 stones are flying at him, and there's no time to teleport or cut. So, he has to block them all, and he tries to do just that with the Tarian. When the commoner Baek Uziel blocks them, the noble gets irritated because his best spell was easily destroyed, and the enemy stopped it with a sword. The teacher also gets angry because if Morso loses, he'll be in trouble too. Our protagonist uses ventilation. He saw this technique in another game, and it worked. It takes more power to maintain Teruvan's form, so he gets tired later. Besides, the defense becomes weaker even from a single attack, which is bad in a real fight. So, he will only use it in this training. The students notice that it's almost like a magic shield and wonder how he developed this defense. The rich boy Morso gets irritated because he feels he's going to lose the fight. Being insulted by a commoner in front of everyone, he starts casting a spell again. His attack turn is over, yet he prepares another spell and shouts that he won't let it go like this. In anger, he wants to finish Baek forever. At that moment, Jeremy arrives and draws the professor's attention, who should now give Baek Uziel the attack turn. The students realize this is no longer a basic first-year duel, and someone could get hurt. The professor ignores the students' disapproval, but Jeremy interrupts him, and under pressure, he gives the commoner the attack order. In a few moments, he wins the duel and knocks Morso to the ground, without giving him a chance to defend. Everyone is stunned by the fight, because they didn't expect such an incredible fight. Jeremy smiles seeing the commoner defeat the noble like that. In a fancy howl, an attack seems to be happening. He falls to the ground covered in tomatoes, and it's Jeremy who attacks him. He says his friend is badly hurt and asks someone to take care of him. It's Virgin who is given the task of taking care of the injured man. In the Scalvan Empire, magical ability decides everything, and Jeremy Scalvan became the crown prince at the age of 12, leaving his siblings behind. He says he's not a servant, and this means the Jordan family is permanently removed from politics. Virgin understands that not only Morso, but also the commoner Baek Uziel has caught the prince's eye, so his school life will also be difficult. The next day, many students are seen in the magic laboratories wearing lab coats. Everyone is talking about our protagonist, that he wants to be a knight, and he defeated Morso Jordan in a duel. Wherever Flame goes, she hears about Baek, even though she doesn't want the attention. The alchemy teacher says this class requires exact measurements and perfect temperature control. Morin tells them to practice a fatigue recovery potion. Flame gets irritated because one mistake ruins everything. Alchemy is too complicated for her, and she wants to avoid these classes. Professor Ma comes in and scolds several students who are getting basic things wrong. Flame has already heard that this teacher will become a necromancer in the future and spread chaos, so to prepare, she has to attend this class. Suddenly, she looks to the side and sees our hero making potions and laughing strangely. She thought Baek was only in this class to get close to Aesel, but now she thinks he's crazy and decides to pick up her materials and leave the lab as soon as possible. Some time passes, and with the help of her ability, she quickly finishes the potions. As she finishes, she looks for Aesel and sees that she is doing well in class. She remembers that in the original story, in this very class, she finds the notebook with Milla's magical machinery notes and creates an improved version of the Tyrant's fatigue recovery potion. Flame wonders why she is only making a normal potion now. Then she hears the teacher say that Baek Uziel has changed the ingredients of the experiment. Our protagonist assures the teacher that the result is better with the other material. Morin angrily says that this is not the fatigue recovery potion she asked them to make. Flame can't believe that the superior potion that Asil was supposed to make was made by the commoner. Now she understands something is strange because Baek made the superior potion instead of Asil. Agent Trin says it doesn't make sense, and the commoner's attitude is bad. Actually, this line was supposed to be about Princess Asil's ruined family, which became a trauma for her because she lost her family, and it haunted her until the end of the game. Flame thinks Baek knew this, and deliberately took the scolding from the teacher himself to protect her. Ma has a lot of influence at Stella Academy, and once more, grades and other classes are also affected. Flame wonders why the boy is doing so much for Asil. Meanwhile, Professor Main scolds her and says she will call her parents because her way of answering was wrong. Our hero was so focused on alchemy that he forgot about this annoying outcome, and says he has no parents. The teacher is shocked to hear that he has no parents. The next day, our protagonist tries to make a kimchi potion with the other partition of the glue. A few weeks pass, and in the same lab, they get scolded again. The teacher complains because he's using materials she didn't allow, and Baek says the potion is better this way. When he argues, Min gets even angrier. But our hero sees with his bulbo glasses that her dark magic corruption is increasing, and he realizes things are going according to his plan. After all, this is the boss of episode 8, Morin with the black corruption. She couldn't control her dark emotions and fell into black corruption, becoming a villain. When the corruption exceeds 90, she turns into a monster. Below 50, the progress isn't detected, and, because of the glasses, he knows it's at 21 now. There's no way to prove she uses dark magic, because reporting it will push the corruption to 50. If it were ordinary corruption, it could be reversed before transforming. But Min made a contract with dark magic of her own free will. The seed of that magic is growing inside her, and there's no way to reverse it. Calling the extermination team is the only option. The 4th episode hasn't even started yet, but she's a very strong boss, so he starts preparing in advance. After all, she can turn other students into dark magic users too, and Stella Academy is in danger. Seeing our protagonist's bad behavior, she says not to expect good grades in her alchemy class. He thinks this is good because by drawing attention to himself, he avoids extra damage. In fact, he didn't even think that the alchemy practical test would be in a group, which gives him a headache, and Baek notices the atmosphere is bad, because no one wants to work with him. The other members introduce themselves, and one of them is Asil Mao. They think the team is bad because the teacher will give them low grades due to her hatred for Baek, but Asil says they shouldn't give up. The practical test will be evaluated by 3 alchemists from Alcosia, so Professor Main can't just ruin their grades on her own. The students understand this and decide to work hard to get a good grade. Our protagonist is also happy with the girl's motivating speech. Making a vitality potion won't be difficult if they combine what they've learned, and they need 2 ingredients. Baek volunteers to bring the Firemander's large still, which is the main ingredient of the potion. Asil warns that he has to bring it very fresh, because monster parts are essential in alchemy. She trusts the commoner, because he looks confident. Our protagonist goes out to bring a fire lizard directly from the source. At the same time, the teacher calls a student privately, and tells them to distribute notes to the first-year alchemy group, but not to Group 12, which is the teleporting mage's group, because she wants to sabotage him. The practical alchemy test will be in front of professional alchemists, and if they fail in front of them, their alchemist career will be over. So, Professor Min wants to make Baek Uziel regret challenging a teacher. In this class training field, Flame stands with her staff. A messenger student gives her a note from the alchemy class and tells her not to tell anyone else. Flame understands that this is just to harm Baek Uziel's group, but she has no intention of staying quiet, and reads the note to learn that the potion has been changed to a Tyrant Point potion, not a vitality potion. Flame thinks that if Baek knows the original story, he will prevent this incident. So, instead of a Firemander and Lizard Tail, he will have to bring an adult Spider Carapace for the Tyrant Point potion. Thinking this is the perfect opportunity to test our main character, our protagonist uses teleportation. As he teleports, he feels dizzy. At that moment, a young woman welcomes the teleporter mage to Tebel. He explains that he's not an official mage, just a cadet, but he's still treated like an official mage from the start. The mages there notice the Stella Academy uniform and start to get jealous of the cadet. The young woman says that if he needs help, he just has to find her, after which the protagonist continues on his way. Because he only has an exit pass and a Stella pocket watch, he's treated like an official mage everywhere. Also, the cost of their teleport hall is 100 credits, but cadets use it for free. He uses the teleport hall on weekends to visit nearby cities to confirm what he already knows and remembers from the game. After this, he reaches the place where the objective is to find a fire lizard, which is a level 2 threat, a bit stronger in endurance and strength, and common. It also has magical defense and moves fast, so a class 2 spell is needed to catch it. When he hunted class 1 monsters, he handled them without difficulty. He thinks he can manage class 2 as well. As he feels a presence in the area, he immediately takes out his Teruvin and understands the monster has arrived. He stays alert, while the fire lizard tries to attack him from behind. But our hero has a sixth sense that shows him the strike coming from behind. He finishes the monster with his magic sword before he can get hit. In a few moments, the young man can't react and falls to the ground from exhaustion. The giant monster lies on the ground, and the protagonist wins. He says he managed the first hunt. Then he notices 3 more lizards like that coming to attack him. He smiles, grabs his magic sword, and says it's time to collect potion ingredients. He gives the material to the girl, who notices it's very fresh. Aesol says that Bake has a good eye for ingredients. She says that now they just need to make the potion correctly. After this, the whole team optimistically starts helping him in the process. Then comes the time for the presentation of Professor Muntern's class assignment. The test will be in front of official alchemists, and if they do well, their future as alchemists can be made. Ain starts the activity and announces that the task is to make a tyrant point potion type. She asks if everyone has brought the ingredients, at which Bake's group is shocked. Aesol tries to complain that the requested potion was Vitality D. The teacher confirms with a student that she had announced the potion change, and everyone agrees. Hearing this, our hero gets irritated with the teacher's attitude and doesn't want his classmates to do poorly on this test. He tries to remember the original story and exchanges glances with Flame. He finds this strange because he thought Bake knew the original story and could have avoided this. They complain to Aesol that she brought the wrong ingredients. The teacher says that if she wants to be an alchemist, she can't confuse ingredients. When Mine is sure that Group 12 will fail, someone interrupts her. Our hero asks if he just has to make a tyrant point potion and says he will do it, despite having different ingredients and showing better performance than the teacher's potion. The official alchemists start whispering among themselves, impressed by his attitude. Our protagonist knows that the main ingredient of this potion is the shell of an adult spider. The shell of these spiders is full of nutrients, and the tyrant point potion is revitalizing for this reason. But trying to make a revitalizing potion from a fire lizard's tail is risky for him. The teacher doubts him and thinks she will end his alchemist career in front of everyone. She warns that the time limit is 1 hour and gives him permission to make the potion. She demands that he complete the tyrant point potion in that time. His group thinks he's crazy, even though he's good at making potions. Bake says that since they are here, they should try, and tells them to keep trusting him. He thinks that trying to make a different potion is better than getting a bad grade. Somehow, he motivates his group, who become optimistic and agree with him. After this, our hero starts explaining how this task will work. He explains that when he played the game, alchemy was one of his biggest passions. He had written down every recipe from the simplest to the most complex, including the recipe for the tyrant point potion. This was the same recipe that Professor Mine was going to invent in the future, so he didn't want to tamper with it. In the present, he explains to the group that the spider's shell is nutritious because it's used to incubate offspring. The fire lizard's tail also has a similar organ in a specific blood vessel. A desert tribe used that vessel to strengthen the chief's health, which increased their life expectancy. A member of the group says he understands it and wants to help. Our protagonist is going to dry the mistletoe using a magical drawing method. A boy says he knows how to do this. Aesol says she will handle the processing of this part of the magical drawing. Soon, the whole team becomes absorbed and focused on making this potion. Our hero realizes they are doing much better than he expected. Finally, they combine the ingredients in the same way he explained, and they create a very similar potion. The teacher is left in shock when she realizes they have actually made the tyrant point potion. The alchemist believes they actually did it using a lizard tail. The teacher gets irritated because this potion was invented after years of research, and they made it easily. After this, the alchemists verify to see if the potion is correct. When they do a test run, they find out it's a bit imperfect, and some ingredients were wasted. However, this potion performs much better than Professor Ma's entrance potion, which makes the group happy, and they are praised for their excellent work. But the teacher gets even more irritated and takes the potion to check it herself. She has no doubt that this potion uses a technique to convert monster nutrients into vital energy, and from every angle, it's a perfect tyrant point potion. She is shocked, and wonders how they made a better product than her. Still, she's the one giving the grade, and thinks about sabotaging them. She thinks about disqualifying the group by making an excuse about the lack of ingredients. The group of alchemists says that Group 12 deserves the best grade for this task. Under pressure from the elder alchemists, the teacher has to agree, and Group 12 is approved. Our heroes are happy about this, but the teacher's hatred for Baek grows, and as her hatred grows, the black corruption inside her also grows. Some time later, we see Stella Academy students training their magic. Flame thinks that studying again at her age is difficult, and she's too tired for it. A group of girls says that Arswang is doing better than the princess herself. Everyone says that girl is a prodigy of fire magic. Even after years of training, the princess is almost surpassing her control. Hearing this, she is startled, because Hum's control was supposed to improve in the second year, not now. She wonders if this is also because of Baek Uziel. When she stops to think, what the mage did in the practical alchemy test seems strange to her. The point potion was a combination of future Azel's discovery and the teachers which completed it. Even without knowing that part of the story, Baek created a recipe that didn't exist before. Flame finds it strange that he has knowledge of the future but doesn't know the original story. She questions if he's not a possessor, but a regressor. If he came from the future, he might know more events and doesn't remember all the incidents with Azel because in the original story, we got a chance to regress once. In this world, the only one with power over time is the principal. Flame wonders what this entity can do. Then someone interrupts her. The girl asks what Heaven thinks about Baek. He says he's a very peculiar student. She tries to get more answers out of the prodigy boy, but he has no other opinion. When he asks if Flame is concerned about Baek, she confirms. She doesn't give more details, but knows the reason is that Baek also knows the story, just like she does, and she concludes that it's not good to think too much about it. She decides she will talk directly to the teleporting mage about what she thinks of him. He even finds the idea of saying everything to the student's face strange. Flame thanks the boy for listening to her the previous day, but after she leaves, the noble boy's look becomes strange. A day passes, and we see the protagonist in the cafeteria. He knows that Manturin's corruption is at 70, and something bad is going to happen in 3 months. Her black corruption will affect a random student, and he has 3 candidates: Jackie, Flame's friend Orang from Hun Bayan's group, and Hai Ram from the Full Moon Tower. If Havang is affected, it will be the worst-case scenario in the game. This was a rare case because the corruption in him leads to a very bad ending, and requires a lot of caution. He is thinking about the most likely scenario when Flame arrives and makes him pensive. She comes and asks who he really is, because last time he didn't give a straight answer. Our protagonist gets irritated by this question, because it puts him in a difficult situation. Telling the truth and getting information increases the chance of reaching the true ending, so he decides to try. When he tries to tell the truth, a warning appears that his narrative is incomplete, and he can't tell this person that he's a possessor. He can't share his knowledge and information with this person. Seeing the system freeze, he says there are some secrets he can't reveal, to which Flame agrees that he will only reveal half the secrets. Initially, the girl asks if he can see the future. He understands she's getting straight to the point, and concludes that she can also see the future. He counters by asking what her objective is at Stella. Flame says she's trying to save the world. After this, she asks another question about his acting behavior. Without fully understanding the question, Baek answers that in these circumstances, this is the best way to act. But this answer isn't enough for her, and she tells him to stop lying. She doesn't believe he's a good person, and thinks he's trying to gain something from this. Our protagonist says he doesn't want anything, and he himself doesn't know what he would want. He just wants to live without thinking too much. Hearing this strange answer, she apologizes for being rude and soon says bye to our hero, before he can ask any more questions. Then Heaven becomes very angry, and confronts Baek Uziel, asking why Flame left crying. He has no intention of leaving the boy alone, and our protagonist understands that he loves Flame. To avoid any misunderstanding, he says that nothing happened between him and Flame. Seeing Heaven's negative reaction, he says there's nothing different in their relationship. He even accepts this answer and apologizes for the invasive questions. Our protagonist finds his behavior strange because he is usually cold and calculating, which makes our hero worry. Azel can't concentrate in class because she has a question in her mind that she wants to ask the teleportation mage if he created the combination used in the potions himself. Our hero says he created that recipe in part. The girl has always considered herself a genius, and if he continues like this, he might defeat her. For this reason, she pushes herself hard, and thinks about what she did wrong this time. She knows that this way she won't be able to get revenge for her father. Her father was called a traitor and taken to the gallows and killed by cruel and disgusting members of Adel. from whom she wants to take revenge. At this, she decides she will work harder for it. Flame wakes up in the middle of the night. The room disturbs her, and she wishes she had her own suite. She remembers Baek's words that he has no goal and understands he has gone back in time. In the original ending of the novel, Yuzon was told by Unipo that time could be reversed, but the memories of the reversed time are lost, and after the mission is complete, he disappears. No one in the world will remember that person saved the world. Even the hero's loved ones won't remember him. Yet some people are so ambitious that they go back in time to try again. It seems some heroes had accepted this as their fate. In the original story, the one who truly stopped Ma Yuzon was Aesel. She said she would accept destruction but wouldn't live in a world without him. After this, Ma Yuzon gave up the idea of going back in time because of her persuasive words. That's why the world was destroyed, and the epilogue ended. This story is different from the original because Baek went back in time with Unan's power instead of Ma. So, when the mission ends, Baek will disappear and be erased from this world. Flame imagines he has lost most of his memories. He only has a sense of duty and is just living. This motivates Flame to act in some way. As she gets out of bed, her friend warns her that Heaven has come to see her. He's waiting for her on the first floor of the dormitory, and Flame doesn't want to see him because she just woke up. She doesn't want to see him in this state and tells her friend to send Heaven back. Some time later, Flame's friend goes to meet the boy at night. He asks about Flame, and her friend says she can't come. He even thinks she's sad about being rejected by a loser like Baek. Hearing this, he decides to go back to his room. The girl realizes that Heaven doesn't even know her name, while she likes him a lot. She feels jealous of Flame because she has always had extraordinary talent and everyone's attention. She also won Hai Wankim's heart, which fills the friend with anger and envy. In the main tower, Professor Min is scolded for embarrassing herself in front of the students. Agi Hetin, the academy's vice principal, says that he has high expectations for her. Min says that the study of law she is conducting with the church's doctors is going well. The vice principal says he's counting on her. Harissa Ariam. As she leaves his room, Aki can't control his anger towards her. She's a woman blinded by fame who doesn't even know she's being manipulated. He finds it ridiculous that the warrior who should be fighting demonic humans is befriending them. With malicious intentions, Aki waits for the day when the black techno magic will be complete. A woman carrying a stack of papers is helped by our protagonist. She thanks Baek because Professor Ma would have scolded her again for it. Our protagonist notices that Ma's inner classroom is in complete chaos. Then his eyes fall on an alchemy diagram drawn on the blackboard. The girl explains that it's a formula being researched by the professor and doctors. They call it the intersection of random flows, and it catches the protagonist's attention. After all, this is the first formula of black techno magic. In the episode with Messen's corruption, the demonic humans had helped her finish this formula, and the technological gap caused great damage. But in this story, the situation changes with Aldersha's arrival. She can decipher this formula before the demonic humans and the professor. Assistant Aldersha invites our hero to have coffee with her. Baek asks if she's annoyed when Ma bullies her. The assistant finds this question strange. He asks what she would do if she got a chance for perfect revenge. She says she's just an assistant, revenge won't help, and she'll lose her job. Our protagonist suggests she become better than Professor Main, so no one will look down on or belittle her. The assistant likes this idea. Baek knows that Aldersha is tired and doesn't want to live in a dusty storage room anymore. Her dream was to become an alchemist and make inventions of her own free will, and she has the talent to achieve that dream. Our hero knows this because in the future, she becomes the most brilliant alchemist of this era. She creates countless items with just her brilliant and original ideas. But right now, she's disheartened by everything and has put her dream aside. Our hero decides he will help her soon. Around the end of Stella's first exam, he continues to meet with the assistant. She gets excited when she finds out he thinks about experiments and magic the same way she does. Our protagonist gives her many ideas to keep her passion for alchemy alive. He notices that all Aldersha's inventions are growing without any problems. Still, one missing step remains in that formula. He knows he has to get the assistant to the solution before the professor. But it won't be easy. Suddenly, someone stops in the hallway and asks why Baek Uziel is so distracted. Flame says that if he keeps being lost like this, he might get beaten up. The girl calls him uncle, thinking he's really old, which irritates him. Our hero realizes she's talking to him more than before, and it's strange. Then he brings up the topic of Flame's friend, Jackie. The girl hints that maybe he wants something weird with that friend. Our protagonist calls it disgusting and tells her to take care of herself. He says Yaki might not be okay right now because he's been affected by the dark arrow and might be in a bad condition. Flame is going hunting with him on the weekend night, and she will handle it. Hearing about the hunting season, the outcome seems obvious to him. After all, Mardava Cemetery is the place where the 4th episode will begin. All the main characters will participate, including Yuzong, Flame, and Aesol. There will also be a big battle against a level 5 necromancer. Bake doesn't want to get involved, but if he gets the secret reward, it will help in the familiar contract ceremony. He submits a leave request to the magic class professor. The professor reads his request, which says that it's not possible to learn swordsmanship or cavalry at Stella. Seeing Yuzong's leave request on the desk, he tells the professor that many students are going hunting in Mardava Cemetery as a club activity. Matt and Harry M's grades are very high, and they are hardworking. But Matt isn't going hunting, he's going home. Hevan is going with Flame, and hearing this, the protagonist is shocked because without Matt, they can't face the necromancer. Beg knows that he won't go home without a special event, and without him, it will be impossible to defeat the level 5 necromancer. But due to narrative constraints, he has no solid evidence to ask for reinforcement and can't leak information. Still, he doesn't want his companions to be wiped out. He decides there's no other way, he has to go and handle it himself. A few days later, we are at Mardava Cemetery. We see many students there testing their magic and fighting monsters. A second-year student, Dog Tagan Chang, easily defeats a predatory fish. Then another student says he didn't listen to the captain's orders and can't destroy everything. The two start arguing, and a student named Bantian, annoyed by their fight, tells Essel not to worry about those idiots. They are irritated at being insulted in front of the freshmen. Ban came to the club for a special outing spot, and notices that the people here are not the same as before. At that moment, she calls her friend Essel, and a big boom happens behind her. The girls are startled and notice someone is fighting nearby. Andy and Sunby confirms with her captain that they can't invade another group's hunting ground. They move forward to inform the other group, Midi, and clear the matter. As they get closer, they see two famous people, Hung Bayan and Flame, face to face as if they are about to fight. Flame says she brought down the predatory fish first, but Hung argues that she was in the hunting area, so it belongs to both of them. Dan hears that the fish is a level 3 risk monster, and the two are fighting over hunting performance. Aesel doesn't want to get involved. Also, she doesn't want to meet Hun Bayan because she is the sister of the man who killed her father. For this reason, she decides to leave quickly. Then someone catches the freshman's attention. He says that if there are problems, they should talk to the upperclassmen. Both girls want to go their own way, and say that if he's an upperclassman, he should behave like one. This offends the man. While they are arguing, the ground starts to shake, and the girls from the other group immediately notice. A strong energy is felt, and skeletal hands come out from under the ground, which shocks both groups because a large number of skeletons start emerging from the cemetery. A warning is written on a tombstone that one should not enter here alone. Also, a system notice appears that skill experience and attribute experience are increasing. Our protagonist says he wants to use magic and thinks his teleportability is useless. Baek Uziel feels that it's time for the necromancer to appear, so he starts searching for him and, while searching, finds a strange tombstone, which he approaches slowly. He doesn't have the strong abilities to wipe out the skeleton army, nor does he have the overwhelming power like Mae Yusong. Still, he knows there is a way to survive fight like a player. He takes his magic sword and stands in front of that tombstone. In episode 4, the necromancer's attack begins. The ground in front of our hero starts to shake, and something starts to come out from under the ground. Seeing this, Baek understands that this is the skeleton general, the one who commands hundreds of skeletons, a sub-boss level monster that appears only 3 times in this episode. According to his current level, if he fights the skeleton general directly, he will die at some point. So, he doesn't even think about fighting this monster in a normal way but directly strikes its head and pushes it back into the ground. When a creature is summoned or transforms, the rule is to stand still and watch. But our main character is not going to get caught standing still. As he gets the chance, he continuously strikes the head and finally turns the monster into a complete spinal staff. Now, the commands given to the skeleton general also come under our hero's control, and after turning it into a staff, he himself admits that he underestimated himself a little. After this, the group of second-year students seems to be in trouble. Flame, standing in front of a crowd of skeletons, understands that this is the necromancer episode, but she feels something is strange. If she's right, the one to resolve this episode should be Mae Yusong. She starts to wonder why Aesol is with another group and why the story's protagonist isn't here. She starts to get scared that they might have to face a level 5 necromancer with this weak group. The team captain takes out his pocket watch and sends a distress request to Stella Academy. The group will just hold back the skeletons until the professors arrive. Without defeating the necromancer, they will be. Bayan grabs her staff and says they can't just stay quiet like this. After all, this is a cemetery, and the more time they spend here, the more skeletons will keep coming. She says they should return to camp. Meanwhile, a skeleton attacks a helpless girl, but then a water spell hits the skeleton directly and stops it. This spell was cast by Aisel to save her friend. A student praises her and says that the necromancer came with full preparation and must have made a power vessel. A power vessel is a technique in which a necromancer keeps storing his mana. His mana is limited. If he summons 3rd and 4th level skeletons, it's difficult to summon more than a dozen for a long time. Yet he has dominated a very large area, which clearly shows he is a very strong necromancer. A student sees that the skeletons are gathering, and thinks this was all planned long ago. He imagines that the necromancer wants to kill them and turn them all into skeletons. Because he is the vice leader, he decides to use his most powerful magic to finish everything at once. But just at that moment, a skeletal hand grabs his leg, which shocks him, and he starts screaming. Then his friend punches the skeleton away and saves him. Because he was in the middle of casting and got hit, a magical backlash is certain. Several magical bolts spread throughout the area. The girls realize that if this thing explodes, their Sai will also be caught in it, and in a few seconds, that's what happens. The entire area is affected by his magical backslash. Flame, fighting through the crowd of skeletons, reaches her limit and complains that the situation is bad, because her mana is running out and there's no time to recover. On top of that, there are still many enemies left. Then a zombie skeleton lunges at her, which scares her, and she starts to think she might die here. But just as a skeleton gets very close to her, it suddenly stops. Not just one, but all the other skeletons also stop moving at once. Then the teleporting mage appears behind them, walking through them with a cold look. Flame wonders how he got here, and then her eyes fall on the skeleton general. The skeleton general is much stronger than a normal monster, and he should have elite monsters with him. The girl is surprised how Baekuzio captured him alone. She can't believe it, but this is the only way she can get out of this situation alive. The whole group thanks the teleporting mage for saving them, and Aisel asks him how he caught the general alone. He casually says he was fishing in the bone soup and doesn't tell them that he was camping at the exact spot where it was supposed to be summoned. After this, he decides to make a plan, because the necromancer can ignore the general and control the monsters directly. Our hero has seen that the necromancer is controlling the area around the camp, making it impossible to break the siege. So there is only one way to destroy the main body. Hearing this, the whole group is shocked and thinks he's crazy. Baek explains that the necromancer is strong in magic but not in hand-to-hand combat. Although there is a danger because he might have monster troops, attacking the summoner is the only way. The necromancer's force has 1 general, 6 elite skeletons, and 50 common skeletons, and this number will only increase with time. So, he wants to take action now, and starts looking for a way to convince the group. But for his help, the girls of the group say that it's possible because the necromancer won't expect a direct attack, and even if he's experienced in combat, there's still a chance. The group can't split up, so they have to cooperate and follow Baek's plan. And then they all decide that they have to take action immediately before the necromancer notices and the number of skeletons increases. We see the necromancer inside a mausoleum, who says it's his luck to meet the freshmen of Stella Academy. If he turns these students into mad skeletons, the Black Alliance will no longer look down on him. Sabi Heniek is a 5th-level necromancer of the Black Tower. For 7 years, he has been accumulating mana in a power vessel, and there are 700 sleeping skeletons in the cemetery. He knows that now, because of his power, no one will dare to disrespect him. But then he suddenly feels his control over his senses breaking, and the skeleton general has been captured. Suddenly, a magical attack comes from behind him with a loud flash, which shocks him. A pile of bones rises from the ground, and he notices that his 4th-level bone barrier is cracking and he's being attacked. Then fire magic blows up his 4th-level bone barrier, which leaves him completely shocked. He realizes he underestimated the students, and never imagined they would come to attack his main body directly. Even though they are just freshmen, Stella Academy is the most prestigious, and he gets a little scared. He doesn't want to use this method, but if he keeps facing these students, the risk will increase. So, he decides to summon the elite skeletons. He cuts his finger, summons them, and loudly orders the skeleton soldiers to come to him. At that moment, the elite soldiers start to rise from the ground. Scary monsters with black bones appear. At the same time, the necromancer starts spitting tomato sauce, which makes him realize that forcefully summoning the skeletons has caused him internal damage. Still, he thinks this amount is enough to finish the students. He orders them to attack. Some time passes, and the already weakened Sabi hack notices that the elite soldiers are fighting well. But he didn't expect that, at that very moment, the teleportation mage would be standing behind him. He asks who he is, holding the staff with the skeleton general. Our main character stands directly in front of the necromancer, which leaves him completely shocked, and he asks who he is, and where he came from. After all, he was watching the students' positions through the skeleton's eyes, yet he didn't see this. Then his eyes fall on the staff, which has the body of his skeleton general. Our hero throws the staff on the ground and breaks the skeleton general, which makes the necromancer spit up ketchup again and admit that he underestimated this young student. He realizes that this is the power of Stella Academy's students. But our hero notices that things are not going according to his plan. The right thing would have been for him to deal with the general first, and then help the others. But the others are stuck in a crowd of skeletons, and can't even move. He starts to wonder if he has to fight alone when he's the weakest in the group, or if he should run away. But then he sees that the necromancer is not in good shape either, which makes him feel a little relieved. After all, forcefully summoning the elite skeletons has injured him. Our hero smiles slightly, and realizes he has a chance to win this fight. The girls are being cornered, and they need to defeat the skeletons quickly to reach Bake Uziel. Then a girl shouts to the princess that there's a problem. The problem is that the teleportation mage is fighting the necromancer alone. The teleportation mage is 1st level, and the necromancer is 5th level, so it's not a fair fight. Then a large purple lightning bolt falls in the middle of the battlefield. The princess says that if Bake dies, she will never forgive him. At that moment, our hero teleports to get out of the bone prison created by the necromancer. Then he feels something coming from behind. He teleports again and dodges the attack made from behind by the necromancer. Immediately after, he charges at him with his magic sword, and lands 2 slashes on the enemy. Our main character had brought several perfect glue potions, which he uses to dissolve bones, especially in a situation where the enemy creates a barrier. As he throws the perfect glue potions on the necromancer's barriers, they start to break, which makes the enemy completely furious and cast a bone-piercing spell. But the protagonist is smart. He teleports behind the enemy, avoids all attacks, and takes advantage of this opening from behind to try to strike him with the Teruvan. But the enemy notices, and gives a dangerous smile. Then a sharp bone emerges from under the ground and hits the teleportation mage, severely injuring his hand, and he takes a few steps back to distance himself from the necromancer. The necromancer holds a spear made of bones and starts to intimidate our hero. Our hero knows he's weakened, but he's still a 5th level mage, which makes the fight difficult. This also means he's very tired and is barely managing all this. If Bake lands one more attack, he can knock him down. But due to the pain, he won't be able to use his mental strength, and won't be able to cancel the teleport movement. Our hero starts thinking of other alternatives and finally finds a way. Facing the fallen enemy, Sub B tries to attack with the bone spear. Our hero throws himself away before the attack lands, which makes the enemy laugh and think he's running away. Bake Uziel crawls helplessly, but he just needs a little more time. He struggles and runs further away, which makes the enemy happy, and think he's winning. Sadie says he will finish this boy now, smiles, and believes he has won the fight. But our hero thinks the distance between them is 13 meters, so he won't need to cancel the teleport movement. He uses his teleportation skill, and holds his magic sword tightly. As he disappears, the enemy falls into despair. He is shocked when the Stella Academy student appears in front of him, about to strike with his sword. Our mage lets out a heroic shout and attacks with the magical sword Teruvan. All the students notice that the elite black skeletons are disappearing one by one. At that moment, they start to wonder if Bake Uziel really managed to defeat the necromancer. They can't believe they got out of that situation alive, all thanks to Bake. Our hero defeats the villain by stabbing him in the chest with the magical sword and now feels completely exhausted. After this, they are handed over to the Order of Magic Knights, and they return to the Magic Academy. His professor scolds him, because he said he would train in a safe place, but he went to the cemetery. Bake apologizes, but according to school rules, he gets a point penalty. However, even while breaking the rules, he protected his friends, so it's considered admirable, and he is also given a reward. Our hero says thanks and needs rest because his thigh is injured, and it will take several days to recover. Then Aesel comes to talk to him. Standing next to the teleportation mage, she thanks him for his actions. He says she can repay him later. Aisel asks if she can become like him if she works hard. Hearing this, our protagonist is shocked because in the novel, Aisel never asks such a question. She has changed because of him, because he interfered. The princess faced trials, but didn't have her own overcoming story. Baek Uziel says she doesn't need to ask him that because she has already performed miracles that many people consider impossible. Our hero says he knows this because he has been watching her for some time, which embarrasses the girl, and he immediately regrets it because it sounds like a stalker. Ashamed of his words, our hero leaves. No one cares about the traitor's daughter, but Baek Uziel treats her differently, which makes the girl happy because he said he's been watching her and praised her achievements. The next day, people from the Magic Order come to the tower, and journalists also come for the awards ceremony. At the same time, the protagonist notices that the girl standing next to him is more excited than usual today. His professor announces that they will award the 12 brave students who face the demonic humans. This prize will be given by the Academy's director, Sela herself, which shocks all the heroes. Elman Elven is a 9th-tier archmage who stands at the pinnacle of humanity. His official age is 300 years, yet he always has a calm smile on his face. He is also known as the Massacrer or the world's strongest warrior mage, which is completely opposite to his harmless appearance. He praises the student's courage, and slowly comes and stops in front of our hero. Looking into his eyes, our hero feels pressure. This is the power of one of the 10 9th-tier archmages in the world. But Baek is motivated and doesn't look away. Seeing this, Elven appreciates his effort and says he expected this from him. The protagonist is confused by the director's words, and with that, the award ceremony ends. Baek receives a reward of 5 million, and now he won't have to worry about money for a long time. He also gets the Vessel of Strength, which is like the Necromancer's heart. When Aldersha can create a dimensional space, carrying items will be easier. He's happy that the students agree to share the rewards, and he will also get a reward from the system, because he completed episode 4 of the Necromancer attack. He gets a large amount of experience for developing the story in a unique way. He also gets a reduced version of the items and skills he would get in the game, though our hero doesn't understand what it is yet. After this, he wants to take the experience points for the frontal teleport skill because that's the most important. After all, in the fight with the Necromancer, he realized how weak he is. Just working hard like others won't do anything. He has to use his knowledge to move forward. The system gives him the reward, and the level of the frontal teleport skill increases, and he reaches class 2, which has a range of 12 meters, a maximum of 3 charges, and a 3-second cooldown. Now he can use teleport 3 times in a row, which will increase his flexibility in fights. Now he says it's time to see, and we see the Abyss meditation class, where the princess is present. Suddenly, a voice starts calling her. A kind of magical spectral butterfly catches her attention during meditation, and crystals start forming above her. The girl is surprised how she did this without calculating magical formulas. She wonders if no one else noticed because it's a first-level spell, but the mana flow should have been felt by everyone. If this is the real effect of meditation, then whoever came there was already expecting this. After this, the girl goes to eat a bread roll bought with credit prize money. Then a blonde boy with a snobbish look comes to talk to her. When he asks if she's in any club, Aisel says no. He invites her to join a club, and she asks if there are any conditions. The boy says there are no conditions, he's inviting her because he likes her. But deep down, she understands he wants to use her like a trophy. She says she doesn't trust him. He says he's not imposing any conditions, she just has to join the club and be with him. Then he says that later he will offer her more things. The boy starts to boast about his background, and Aisel knows very well where he comes from. After all, the Scalvan Empire is in conflict with the Idlebet Kingdom. With Prince Jeremy's power, she knows her difficult life could end, and she could get much more than cheap bread rolls. She wouldn't have to endure the humiliation of being called a traitor's daughter either. But before she accepts that humiliating contract, her friend suddenly appears and slaps him hard. Flame's completely sudden action leaves both of them in shock. She yells at Aisel and says she can't just leave him like that when she said she liked him. Then she grabs her hand and takes her away to talk to Princess Aisel alone. Flame says the matter could have ended very badly and tells the girl she should thank her because she saved her otherwise. If she had refused without reason, that rich brat would have harassed her for the rest of her life. After this, she apologizes for slapping her and leaves. While walking, she wonders if she did the right thing, because if Aisel had gone down that path and joined the club, Jeremy would have ruined her. She didn't want to interfere in the original story, but after what Baek did, it doesn't feel so wrong. A little nervous, she hopes she didn't catch her lies. Meanwhile, Jeremy is drinking tea and finds out that the girl's name is Flame. He realizes she lied in front of him to escape. Now she seems more interesting than Aesol, and he decides he wants her for himself. Meanwhile, the magic teacher announces that the combat simulation against monsters will now begin. The target in the simulation will be a medium-sized third risk level monster, which is more challenging than before. The method is simple: form teams and defeat the monsters with a straightforward strategy. Each team will choose a medium-sized monster, and will be given time to practice fighting it. They go to the Aladdin to choose the terrain, and hunt the same medium monster they are best adapted to. The evaluation will be in 4 days, and they have to submit a list with teams of up to 6 people. Hazel doesn't like teamwork, and sees that people are busy pleasing the princess. Many people want to team up with her, and Hun Dian is surrounded by people. Meanwhile, Hazel is all alone, and no one asks her to join a group. When the Idlibit kingdom hadn't destroyed her family, her friends used to be around her just like that. Both had the same starting point: Hazel's house of Moth and the Idlibit royal family of fire. When both families dominated the magic world, they were always at odds. And born in those clans were 2 talented children, Humban and Hazel Moth. At that time, she considered herself the chosen one, and now wonders if she can get revenge on Idlibit. Then our protagonist appears and asks if she is alone. With a smile on his face, he invites her to be his partner for the creature hunting assignment. Princess Hung sees this and wonders why they are forming a pair when there's no minimum number requirement. Baek wants to get extra points by forming a small team. Hazel thinks it will be difficult for just 2 people to face a third-level monster. Our hero asks if she will accept, and she agrees because she has no one to do the assignment with. Then he goes to the teacher to submit the list, and Princess Hung comes to talk to him. She confronts Hazel and says a throne heir shouldn't behave like that. But Hazel knows this is not because of rivalry or skill, but because of Baek Uziel. Feels bad that she lost to a failure like Hazel. Although they can join any faction to form a team, at least a knight title is necessary for the match to be fair. She goes to talk to Yuson and asks if his team is already formed. The novel's hero says he wants to go solo, but the princess invites him to join her team. After all, Baek Uziel and Hazel are forming a team, and this catches Matt Yuson's attention. The 2 are going to face a special medium to large monster together. So she asks again if Yuson will team up with her to compete with Baek at least once. He finally agrees to form a duo team with the princess. Princess Hun Ban becomes obsessed with defeating both of them in this competition. After 4 days of preparation, the monster combat simulation begins. We see a team of 5 students around a giant purple slime monster. The professor announces that the practical evaluation of SENA classes will now begin, where each person will face a different medium-sized Class 3 monster. Team 16 gets a very tricky monster, and Flame says she has trained a lot. She thinks about defeating a risk level 3 medium monster alone to get the maximum score. 5 level 1 mages together can face a level 1 risk medium monster. If there are attribute advantages, experience, and other factors, facing higher level monsters is also possible. Because she is a light magic user, she doesn't have much of an attribute advantage, and not much can be done. Still, she hopes Hazel Moth will do well in her task. In the original novel, the girl couldn't team up with anyone because of Hun and got the worst grade. So she had thought of recruiting her, but with Baek's arrival, her future can now take a better turn. She notices Team 16 wins, and Team 17 is next, and she is the only one in Team 17. As she prepares to enter the battlefield, her foot suddenly slips, and before she can fall to the ground, our main protagonist grabs her shirt and steadies her. The girl thanks him, and our hero tells Flame to go and retie her shoelace. She thinks Jackie tied it well, but in a fight, she would have been in big trouble if Baek hadn't noticed. After this, she readies herself, picks up her staff, and takes a battle stance. The other students comment that she is standing alone against a giant mountain monster. That monster has no special weakness, and can't be attacked with an opposite element either. The evaluation of Team 17, consisting of Flame, is about to begin. Then the giant mountain boar charges at her with all its might. Seeing its speed, the people in the room wonder how she will handle it alone. The girl casts her magic. A spell like the Whisper of Flying Paddles activates. Binds start emerging from the ground, and begin to bind the giant mountain boar. Then she uses matter transmutation and turns the base into ice. She says it's not over yet and then casts another spell. But at that moment, the monster breaks through Flame's elemental restraints and gets very close. Just at the second when she is about to be hit, her spell activates. A large light beam shoots directly at the boar and hits its mouth with full force, creating a large hole in the creature's body, and it falls to the ground. In this way, the girl defeats the monster all by herself. The other teams start to get jealous, because even with 5 people, They couldn't defeat a medium-sized monster, and she easily defeated a giant monster alone. Then she suddenly sees a female leg, and thinks she might have seen it wrong or had a hallucination. After this, the practical evaluation of Team 31 begins, which includes Hun Bayan and Mei Yuzong. As soon as they both enter, the whole class gets excited to see the princess and Mei Yuzong in action. Meanwhile, Flame keeps thinking why the two are together, instead of forming their own factions, because they shouldn't have any connection with each other. Yet they have formed a duel. At the same time, a gigantic water demon fish appears, which is a special medium-sized monster. It's rare to encounter such a monster, and it's not a normal special monster either. Hun Bayan and Yuzong's attributes are fire, earth, and lightning, while the demon fish is a water-type monster with strong resistance against fire, and it can also fly. This makes it a perfect opposite for both fighters. Yet they want a special medium monster and want to win even with an attribute disadvantage. Their aim is to get a high grade, but that's only possible if they win the fight. The two stop in front of the monster, and the monster lets out a terrifying growl. At that moment, both stand ready, and everyone wonders why they aren't attacking. Knight Mei Yuzong stands behind the bishop and suddenly takes an agile leap over the girl, jumping very high, which is quite an impressive feat for a first-year student. But it seems this won't be enough to reach the monster, because techniques can't be used mid-air. The students don't understand what the strategy is. Mei Yuzong summons pieces of stone with his magic sword and supports himself in the air. Then the princess uses a fire spell, propelling those stones, which allows him to reach the monster's height. As Hun uses fire, Ba reaches the giant fish and activates the giant fist spell, which is an earth spell, causing a huge hand to appear and punch the monster fish, knocking it to the ground. As it falls, the novel's protagonist immediately starts to invoke another earth spell. Several rocks rise from the ground and grab the monster. The monster screams desperately but still manages to free itself, spreads its large wings, and delivers another thunder smack. As Yuzong expected, it got free quickly, but now it's too late for the creature. Princess Hung's spell is complete, and a huge magical aura emanates from her body. A large pink light beam falls on the monster and injures it. Everyone notices it's in pain, even though the water demon fish has high fire resistance. Immediately after, Ma raises his wand, casts a spell, and says the fight is over. Because at that moment, he injects an extremely powerful lightning spell along with the princess's magic. As soon as both spells combine, the water demon fish doesn't even get a chance to attack, and is defeated. All the first-year students are impressed by this, as they are approaching the level of third-year's class. Ordinary students understand what it means to be a magic genius. Hung is confident that no matter what choice Baek makes, he won't be able to defeat her, and smiles, thinking that this time she has defeated the teleportation mage. Finally, it's our protagonist, and Isil's turn. Our hero requests that 5 monsters be summoned in front of them. Hearing this, everyone is stunned because even 5 people have difficulty defeating one monster, and it seems impossible for 2 people to defeat 5 monsters. Everyone has heard the rumors about the student, yet they wonder if he's serious. Soon, 5 monsters are summoned around the 2 fighters. Then, a theoretical specialist on monsters, is impressed. A Raiden, a Shadow Bull, a Tedden, a Nami Slime, and finally a giant Sharperbet appear. And this combination seems very dangerous to Van. The one who watched the previous duel is now curious about what he's going to plan. Everyone starts to watch the fight carefully, eager to see Baek in action. The professor asks who is responsible for this summoning, to which Baek himself speaks up. He says this is not a viable strategy, because in such a situation, he could have taken points as a knight, not as a bishop. But the teleportation mage says the professor didn't understand correctly because this very strategy is possible because of the bishop position, where the girl stays behind, and he stays in front. Hearing this, the professor understands and gives them permission to start the fight. Our main protagonist confirms if the girl can really do what they agreed on, to which she says yes. Both show confidence in each other for this fight. But Aselmoff thinks that Baek Uziel is an indecipherable person. She remembers the moment when she asked why he chose her when he could have chosen someone more useful. Our protagonist said that there are many amazing people, and very few come close in magical power, and very few are equal to Flame in control. He adds that Ma is the strongest of the first years, and Shenvet Adlin is very skilled in destruction. Despite having such good options, he considers Hun Bayan the best, and for that reason alone, he chose her. After this, both prepare to face the 5 monsters. Meanwhile, the girl remembers his words during the fight and becomes even more motivated. She doesn't fully understand Baek's reason, but she knows he must have something on his mind. For this reason, She decides to show her full ability, and slowly starts to float in the air. A very large aura emanates from her body. At that moment, people recognize the sensory resonance ability, which only level 6 mages in a full attunement state can do. It's so dangerous that if focus is lost, a person can lose the ability to manipulate mana for life. For a first-year student to do this seems completely absurd. Our protagonist didn't expect less from the future Snow Queen. Seeing her in her complete magical state, he understands that the plan can now begin. His plan is for both of them to defeat all 5 monsters together. Then he holds the Teruvan tightly and jumps towards the creatures. Using flash forward, he attacks the frog monster, which is distracted, and delivers a large slash, severely injuring the monster, and it starts to scream in pain. The first monster is almost finished, and now he focuses on the Shadow Bull. The Shadow Bull, seeing the creature in pain, notices the shining horn on the frog's head and gets even more irritated. It takes a breath and angrily stomps the ground, just as the protagonist had planned. When he was thinking about how to face 5 monsters at once, he had understood that the strategy would be to make the monsters fight each other. Right now, he's doing the same thing, making the monsters angry at each other. The students are surprised at what's happening, because the monsters start a fierce fight among themselves. Our protagonist was already expecting this situation. This is the borrowing the sword strategy of Chinese origin, where enemies are made to attack each other. Experienced Etherworld players also thought the same way to defeat multiple monsters in a small group and found the answer: use a monster's traits against itself. First, it was necessary to warn the Raiden, because due to pain, a red light activates in its horn, which irritates the Black Bull and makes it attack the frog. The Black Bull, irritated, spreads sand from its body all around, and as soon as that sand touches the Nami slime, it generates an absurd amount of water to prevent dehydration. Our protagonist notices that the plan is working. Due to the arena's barriers, the water starts to accumulate. Then the kitten bird starts to screech above 7 octaves, which activates the Canterbat's supersonic hearing, and it attacks the kitten. The slime also gets irritated and attacks both of them. In this way, they all start to clash at once. The monster specialist understands that they deliberately provoked the monsters to make them attack each other, and this was Baek's plan. Some teachers say that the scariest thing is Isilmoth's concentration because it's very difficult to maintain focus and save energy in such an environment. This shows how much trust she has in her partner, who took everything head-on and is protecting her. But at the same time, the teleporting mage notices that a monster is falling towards his friend. He uses flash forward and kicks the giant bird so it doesn't collide with the girl. The protagonist's kick defeats the kitten, and the girl is still floating in the air in a state of full concentration without being disturbed. Then another monster starts to approach her, and the protagonist uses teleport again to get in front of the girl. Yuzong asks the princess if he looks like an ideal knight in her eyes now, because he's protecting the princess like a perfect knight. Our protagonist continuously attacks all the monsters and stops them from reaching the girl, while she remains in a state of full concentration, as if floating in space. Then she opens her eyes and conjures the crystal flower spell. A large crystal flower starts to emerge behind her. The entire arena fills with frozen crystals along with the giant crystal flower. After this, she commands the flower to break, and it explodes, shattering into thousands of crystal pieces that start to fall on all the monsters in the arena, freezing and defeating them. But then someone says the fight is not over yet. The monsters start to wake up even after being frozen, and the people at the academy think they might not win the fight. Then she raises her hand, and a yellowish lightning spell starts to form. No one believes what she's doing until she conjures the pulverization spell. A huge lightning bolt forms above all the monsters and falls from the sky, violently electrocuting them after they were frozen. The girl herself looks at what she did, and is impressed with herself. She didn't imagine her magic would be enough for such a large scale. She realizes that Baek Uziel was right. She was scared and thought he was crazy for wanting to face 5 monsters at once. But he said he trusted her, and they could win. He said that if she doesn't believe in herself, she should believe in him, who believes in her, and that would be enough. Before he came, the girl had nothing. She was lost. She didn't know which direction to go, and there was no one to tell her she would succeed. Then that boy came and brought light into her life and changed everything. Now she has a light to follow and someone who says she can achieve things, so she no longer needs to wander in darkness. After this, the exercise of Team 32 concludes, and they win just like the other team. Our protagonist hangs from the ceiling with his magic sword, and says he was almost hit by Aisel's attack. On the results board, Team 32 takes first place, and in second place is Mei Yuzong and Hung's team. Hong Bayan accepts defeat this time because Baek and Isol's performance was unexpected. Ma says she accepted defeat more easily than he thought. She knows that if her knight had been Baek, he would have used as strong a magical attack as the girl. Still, she wonders why this commoner is so obsessed with the girl. If he's the ideal knight, he can be with her, because she's going to be the most successful at the academy. Thinking this, she gets angry. In reality, the princess can't accept this situation, and feels the need to investigate more about our protagonist. Then she notices a girl staring at her strangely. She thinks maybe she came because of her loss to the commoner and calls her a very annoying person. The woman doesn't stop staring at her, and notices that there's still a lot of time before something happens. On the other hand, Flame understands that the crystal flower shouldn't have appeared so early in the story. This is the spell that Aesol learns in the future after overcoming hardships. Her signature magic is connected. An internal error has occurred.